All right, y'all. Welcome to All Politics are Local, America's number one political hip hop radio talk show. Y'all know if it's Friday, y'all know it's time for the Mayor's Forum. But more importantly, y'all know if it is the third Friday, y'all know it is time for our beloved brother and Mayor Raz J. Baraka of one of the greatest cities in America, our city, Newark, New Jersey. So we're gonna have a great show. We're gonna obviously talk to the mayor about whatever is on his mind, and we'll share some things that's on our mind. So my name is Ed Riley. I'm one of your hosts, and of course, my brother up top to the right is John Austin. So we're gonna have a number of things going on. So what's coming up after the mayor?
Well, after the mayor is coming up, I just got a big shout out to Lisa Durden for putting together a promo for the Conversations project. She has Naturi Naughton-Lewis is coming on, famous actress, singer, and New Jersey native. And we also have Tracey Baker-Simmons. She's a producer. She actually is one of the originators of urban reality TV, coming on to talk about the Conversations project. So that should be a fun conversation at 7. At 8, we've got Atiya Bell, who owns her own life insurance company, and she's also kind of like an insurance guru kind of person, right? Like what she does is she teaches people how to sell insurance within our community, life insurance that we need, so people aren't going around with raising money for funerals, right? Like people are actually buying life insurance, and understanding how to do it. So she has it's going to be a masterclass kind of interview. And of course, at 8:30, we have DJ Rhino in the state of hip hop talking about what happened in the week and the state of hip hop right now. So it's going to be a fun show, and look forward to it. It's going to be great from beginning to end. So, Mayor, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing, man? You guys you guys have been doing well, brother. So you got a lot of good stuff coming up on the show as well. I see.
Yeah. Like
good stuff. Yeah.
We're blessed, and that you helped make that happen. So I appreciate that too.
No problem, man. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on, so there's a lot of stuff to talk about. Obviously,
right. And I know that you're going to educate it. Like the last time, I don't think it was on last month, but I think it was on a month before that. Or maybe I just heard about last month. I was away at a debate tournament, and then everybody's hitting me up. It's like, did you hear what the mayor said? Did you hear the knowledge he's breaking down? Did you hear and I was like, cool, right? Because what you were talking about last time was, and I had to deal with this, and with what I do, if people are acting a certain way around you, right? Like if they're acting like COINTELPRO, you got to treat them like COINTELPRO, as in you don't know what their background is, but sometimes people can mess up stuff that you do. Mayor just came off. I'm adding him to the stage. All right. And so, but I know a lot more stuff is going on this week, so I don't want to push the conversation in a direction that it don't. I'd much rather the mayor talk about what the mayor wants to talk about. I just when I missed last week, I know I missed a lot.
Yeah, it's the way things happening in the world today, boy. You miss a day, you miss a whole bunch of stuff.
Right.
2 or 3 days in, I mean, it's just been one crazy thing after the next crazy thing. That's been happening. So, I mean, I just think more than anything, we just have to be engaged more and read more and study more and get information more, and just never. I listen to hear some of these people or look at their posts on social media, and folks are so uninformed and so backward. I mean, uninformed on basic stuff, like things that you take for granted, and part of it is people's inability to pass this information on to people, the lack of study and opportunity to get information. So people get on and they have people who have study groups, and they study groups are so wrought with error and misinterpretation It is almost scary living in the time that we're living in today, where you have to where information is coming so fast, so quickly, and so rapidly that you just have to be prepared, and most people aren't prepared to deal with it, especially with this AI stuff as well that's going on. People just not going to be ready for that.
It's interesting because I wrote a debate curriculum for Newark Public Schools, and the second unit is all on evidence, right? How to debate using evidence, because I know that people don't know how to use evidence, right? I had seventh graders. We were having a conversation about police brutality a few years ago, and cameras, et cetera. One of the kids was like, we talked about unarmed Black men being killed by the police and what people are doing about it in terms of the camera thing. And one of the kids was like, Black cops kill unarmed white people all the time. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I was like, what evidence do you have? Where are you showing it, right? And he had this website, and it was literally a Klan website that was promoting racial violence, right? It wanted to soup up. And I'm like, well, if you look at this, and literally teach him, right? Like to understand sources. So in the unit on evidence, we're like, all evidence needs to be clear, transparent, verifiable. We have certain techniques for how to look at just the evidence that you have and what makes them an expert, right? Ask the question, what makes them an expert? And that's part of that debate and understanding, like understanding expertise. Is that part of what you were talking about when you were like, people have study groups and they're more like ideological misinformation groups?
Yeah, for the most part, or they're reading material and they don't understand what they're reading, or they don't have the context for what's being said, or people take everything that they read as gospel. Probably they don't cross-reference or read anything else. They don't have context, so they just, if somebody says it, then it's correct, right? Or like, there are things that people say that may be incorrect, or stuff that you don't agree with, even people who you respect.
Right.
And it's important, for us to be able to dialogue about that, especially in the present form, in the present sense. And we don't. And because we don't, you got people that are like idealizing individuals, and they, prompt people up, and they just following that instead of the ideas. And, it becomes really dangerous, because they don't have any real cross-reference. They have any study. And I was able, honestly, and I understand that, benefit from being in the time period and in the household I was in, to be able to get multiple information, as it was happening, and reading, but also be able to attend conferences and be around people, young people my age too, nationally, who were sharper than me, who was reading and studying, who inspire you to do that as well. Mm-hmm. Right. So I'm traveling around the country with Sister Soldier and all these other people, and Haq Islam, National African National Alliance, or National African Youth Student Alliance, and all these other folks, and all these conferences we go into. You get to listen to conversations and read books and understand what's happening from different perspectives. And I just think that because of social media and the internet, people and things happening so fast, like you got this microwave kind of information coming at you, all kind of information sets all at once. You just don't have the time or the space to be able to vet it or read it the way you should. We didn't have that. So we were actually forced to actually travel and have conversations with people and actually read the material.
And I think that I really appreciate what you say when you're reading a source, even if you respect the source, even if the source is lauded, you could be critical, right? Like every argument has a claim, a warrant, an impact, right? Like every time someone's writing, there's stuff that's there that you can engage with and should engage with. And is what you're saying, that some people, when they engage the word, they're just looking at the word. They're not necessarily critically reading the word.
Right. I was watching a debate. Well, it's not really a debate. It's a conversation I was just watching on YouTube, Malcolm X and James Baldwin. I was just watching that again. I remember I saw it a long time ago, but from the space I'm in now, I'm, just a little bit more critical of, the conversation. And it was very, very, very informative to me. And I was just thinking how brilliant I thought James Baldwin was, going back and forth with Malcolm X, who I think is an incredible thinker and leader, but, they just learning from the conversation and the dialogue they had, specifically talking about resistance and what resistance looks like and what our role and responsibility is, just looking at that, and Malcolm being very critical of Martin Luther King at the time and the sit-in movement and so forth and so on, saying that it's passive, and Baldwin basically saying that it wasn't passive, that, that they're actually engaging the enemy. You know what I mean? So they're not sitting back allowing things to happen to them. They're just doing it in a way that he didn't agree with. And thinking about that, and then later on, Malcolm's own criticism of the Nation of Islam himself, which is that all of these things were happening to Black people in the South, and they had an army and they wasn't engaging. Just really, really thinking about like all of that stuff. And I don't even think, right now at the present moment that we in, like a lot of the young folks that are out here, I mean, I don't want to say everybody, I'm sure there are folks that are out here that are thinking critical about different things, but, just these people I'm coming across, we don't get a chance to have real discussion, deep discussion about, ideas and concepts and struggle and movement. We just don't get a chance to have those kind of real discussions because, and I think it's purposeful, not just social media, but it's so many distractions, some purposeful distractions to get you to make the same mistakes over and over and over and over again. So you're not moving forward or finding a way to resolve the issues that obviously are continuing to take place in one form or another that we see. So we just need to have space to be able to have those discussions with one another about where we are and what is the steps that we should be taking collectively and individually to change our condition, and what role should we be playing as individuals? Like, what are you doing? Like, everybody is not going to be doing the same thing,
right?
And understand that, and see how all of those things collectively can lead to our, ability to move ourselves forward out of this situation that we constantly keep finding ourselves in over and over and over again. And that becomes more critical for me now, because all of the stuff that I come up against, I know now that everybody put this governor thing out there. Like, I was just talking to people in my family the other day, like all kinds of folks come at me in different ways now, you know what I mean, about different things, and they talking about you in different papers. So your enemies have organized themselves to prevent even the thought of anything in their mind, the thought of you doing anything. They're gonna end the thought of it by coming at you in all kinds of ways, right? And using some people that are in your own community to do that, right? And this is what they do, and they're gonna continue to do that, right? Over and over and over again. Like, they are going to make sure that you don't even think about that, right? Because the disruption to their authority, the disruption to the status quo, not even the concept that you might win, because they're so arrogant, and that's their weakness. White supremacy is actually a weakness. They're so arrogant that they believe that you don't have a chance in the world. But at the end of the day, just want to make sure that you guys don't get any ideas. You know what I mean? Because even in running, you give other people ideas about what they have the possibility to do.
Right. And especially in New Jersey, where the demographics are such that we are soon in New Jersey going to be majority non-white. And in terms of the voting patterns, when I was looking at the voting patterns before, generally 6 of 10 white people vote for the Republican, but yet it's still a blue state. because the black and brown people vote overwhelmingly for the Democrat. And we saw that in the last governor's election. We saw that part of the reason why the governor won was because Newark came out at a key time, and Essex County came out, and Newark specifically came out and tilted the election. So it's possibly that even if you're thinking about running for governor and don't win, that there would be enough in terms of mobilization to be like a candidate that creates a network statewide that can affect every election going forward.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's real. I think in their mind, though, because the way these people's minds work, that, they think you not electable, and they'll say that because you're black. And what they're actually saying is that white supremacy is so powerful and ingrained in people's minds in New Jersey that they would not even contemplate that, and they're trying to make sure of it. I don't agree with that, but that's how their minds work. I think the real threat, though, is the ideas that will be raised in the course of this, and the people and the thoughts that they would have to engage, and they would have to they can't continue to pretend that New Jersey is this place that it is not. Right? Because our comparison to places like Florida and Georgia and Mississippi and all of these places, where 30% of white New Jerseyans are struggling, like the Alice report. These are people that asset limited, income constrained, and employed, right? So people with jobs, that means that they have jobs and they're still struggling to pay their rent, to pay taxes, to pay all of this, pay for food, and the living for them is difficult. In New Jersey, 30%, 52% of African Americans and 51% of Latinos in New Jersey have jobs. I mean, those that have jobs that are still struggling, still can't, that New Jersey is a difficult place for them to live economically and socially. The social mobility is restrictive for them here. And that's something that's not raised because, we continue to debate and talk about what we need to do to keep rich or wealthy folks in New Jersey here. And we never have the discussion about regular working people or families who are trying. Look, these people, they just had this article out about how housing is expensive and growing. The cost of it is growing in places like Newark and all these other places. They did that in Forbes, and conveniently comes out now in Forbes. But the reality is these people won't allow housing in no other places in New Jersey outside of these urban centers, no affordable housing, which creates the lack of housing and the density. So you get overdense communities like Newark, and the housing market increases because there is no housing, not enough housing. So the scarcity drives the prices up, and they won't allow you. So these folks, if you was born in Millburn, New Jersey, or even Upper Montclair, New Jersey, right? When you go off to college, when you come back, you can't afford to live in those communities.
Right.
You can't afford to. You can't afford to own a home there, and you can't rent there because they're not zoned to build 2 and 3 family homes. So you have to find a place like Newark to move, right? And so as the market changes and the prices are, and say you get a job in New York where affordable housing in New York is $2,500 to $3,000, you're going to be forced to live in a place like Newark. And so you come in looking for housing in Newark so you can work in New York or work in other places like that and around those areas. So the gentrification, the whole kind of cycle is created by these suburban and other communities that refuse to build housing and create neighborhoods that are equitable and open and unrestrictive. And it gets down to that kind of minuscule kind of level, even in the city itself. So you have neighborhoods, even in Newark, that refuse to allow other people to live in them. So you get what we have here, overly dense populated communities, parts of the community that have less resources and large amounts of people, no real space, and not enough opportunity. And so trying to figure that out is difficult, trying to figure it out, and creating transportation where people can actually get to work. All of that is difficult to figure out in a place that is designed to create this level of segregation, like New Jersey. And that's really, the way this place works. And you start having discussions about things like that. You're saying, okay, you have to attack home rule, right? You have to attack segregation, and you have to attack, equity in terms of economic segregation and economic, debilitation in certain people's communities and poverty. These issues people don't want to talk about. They're not interested or prepared, at least on the leadership side, to have those discussions or talk about them, because the status quo has been okay with them. And because Trump, as long as you have Trump running, it makes these people safer, because he becomes the boogeyman, and they basically could say, if you don't do this, Trump is going to be there, right? And they don't really have to do anything other than like the mediocre stuff that happens, because if you don't push that way, you get this crazy person, right? And they actually are hoping it's actually beneficial to the Democratic Party if Trump stays in there,
because they don't have to work on actual ideas for the future. Right.
They don't have to challenge themselves, or we don't have to challenge all of the challenges that we bring to them. People hush you and quiet you because you got this crazy person over there. And, and then we wind up getting the same level of mediocrity with no real ingenuity or push to push this thing further and further and further to become more and more democratic and more progressive. Those things don't take place because of a person like this extreme kind of person that's happening over there, right? So, I mean, if Trump wasn't involved in this, it becomes easier for Republicans and more difficult for Democrats.
Because Republicans will be able to Republicans can be actually conservative, represent the status quo, whereas there is some level of, like, your administration, I think, is defined by a lot of innovation, right? There are problems that come up. There have to be innovative solutions. There's violence, right? So then the Office of Nonviolence, right? The different ways of looking at violence as a public health issue, which is ahead in the country in terms of doing that. When you dealt with the water situation, you had to literally push to have state laws change in order to address a long-standing problem of lead, right? So it really took a lot of thinking outside the box when you were dealing with, even in terms of housing, the way you were trying to get, like, almost give property away to Newark residents in order to deal with the coming waves of gentrification, right? So it seems like in this, you've been ahead in terms of trying to figure out, what do I need to do to solve this problem right now? And part of what I'm hearing is that the problems statewide require, like, a level of sophistication. I don't want to use the term rainbow coalition, but it sounded like you would. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? Correct me if but when you were talking about how white people are broke, like they can't afford some stuff, right? You're talking about Latinos, like, can't afford some stuff, right? Like,
that's always been the case, though. But and King said that they would feed their children Jim Crow when their stomachs cried for the food that the economic system couldn't provide. And I'm paraphrasing them, so they would feed them Jim Crow. So at least you better than them. You might be starving, but at least you better than them. So racism in America, white supremacy in America, feeds the economic system that exists, that keeps people in poverty and struggling. And addressing that, and what I'm saying is addressing that in a holistic way, or letting people know that it'll help everybody, not just us. It should help us specifically because we have some specific wrongs that have been done to us, and we shouldn't be ashamed to say that, and that we need to be repaired for those wrongs. But even in our quest for repair and equity, that other people actually benefit, like that democracy is broadened, that people have access. Our struggle in this country has always benefited everybody else here. Our struggle for Black studies, for Africana studies, has benefited every other person in this country and people that have come to this country. Our fight for citizenship has created a pathway for many, 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 many people who are trying to find citizenship and being treated and get treated equal under the law here in this country. Our destruction of Jim Crow and all of the things that we fought for, voting rights and everything else, equal access to education, proper housing, all of these things have benefited the country, right? Even our participation in the labor movement itself, right? We're all over the labor movement as well. And so because, you know, we were in these jobs that we were forced to be in, so we wound up fighting to get equity. Even when some of the labor movements didn't allow us to be in it, we fought on our own, like the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters and Maids, right? So our struggle here has benefited everybody, and we have to tell that in a way that folks can understand it, right? That's clear. But what I was saying earlier is like the Democratic Party can rest in the middle and rest in moderacy. Even conservatives, democratic conservatism, this kind of centrist stuff that started with even Bill Clinton and that whole crew, because of the extreme positions that Trump and the rest of these people take, they can rest there, right? Because these guys are running around supporting right-out Klansmen, right? And Nazis and all these other folks. They straight up support these people that the Democrats can be moderate and give us the bare minimum, right? We have to, that's why we got to unite to fight fascism and the right to get rid of it and push these people further and further towards the left.
So it's interesting because you're saying that it's necessary to get rid of the extremes so that we could actually have a real conversation about the things that we actually need. Like Absolutely. Yeah, you have to do that. I mean, survival is number one. You know what I'm saying? Right. Survival, you got to survive. You got to be able to eat, and people's threatening your existence is a problem. So you got to challenge that on all levels. We got to unite around that on all levels, like getting rid of that and then push further and further for more broader kind of democracy and other things, push further and further to get more opportunity and rights and access and inclusion for you and your family first and everybody else, right? That's important, right? And look, if you can't feed your family or feed yourself or take care of yourself, you can't even begin to think about the hard things in life that need to be dealt with or changed or other things or school, all these, because the basic necessities aren't met. So if people are challenging our basic right to be human beings, that has to be dealt with, right? And then we push these people who are in the middle, we challenge them, we fight them until, we get exactly what it is we think that we need or desire. That's what needs to happen. But, in the meantime, you may have to unite with folks to fight the far right. And it seems like you're doing both at the same time, right? Like we'd had a conversation with Kishiri the other week, and I didn't know that there was an Office of Violence Prevention both at the federal level and the state level.
Yeah, they just did that. Yeah.
And I mean, that comes from the work that was done in Newark, right? That
Sure.
comes from the work that started in your leadership. So the question I have, and Newark has a lot of stuff like this, right? Like when we had Congressman Payne on the show, and he talks about how he went to Nancy Pelosi and, he pushed for more money to be in nationally for the in the infrastructure bill, based on putting money in it so that they could change private lead lines, as in what happened in Newark. So again, another program that was thought of in Newark, got bumped up federally, and a lot of other people statewide have been trying to do it, right? And you've talked about how people statewide have been trying to do it. When we're looking at like, and I'm just asking, I'm throwing this out, like, what are those things and other things part of the vision about what can be done, what we've done in Newark, what you've done in Newark, what people in Newark have done in Newark, that can be pushed statewide and nationally, because there's a track record of it already?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think necessity is the mother of invention, and we really over here trying to sustain ourselves more than anything. You know, we're trying to sustain ourselves and deal with real problems that face us, right? Some of these problems, many of them face people all over the country. Like, they are challenged by these issues, and us struggling against them, just inspires other people to do the same thing. We usually look at things and think they're too heavy or too big for us to go at, so we leave it, right? Or we, chip away at it slowly. Like, what we've been trying to do is just go at it straight ahead. And, sometimes it knocks us down, sometimes, and then we get back up, and sometimes we knock it down. And I think that our struggle against these larger issues kind of inspires other people to begin to do the same. And that's really what it is. And people become encouraged by that, right? That's why you're giving people hope when you struggle. That's why when people always argue, we it's better for us when we have these extreme folks in office, that people, if they beat you up, that it'll make people fight back. That's just not true. The only thing that makes people fight back is confidence, right? Confidence. And that comes with small victories, having the right line, and building kind of strategic organization. People fight back when they think they can win, for the most part. Usually when people know they're going to get whipped, they run, or they're fearful, or things break apart. And that's just normal human nature, I mean, obviously, if you backed against a wall, you're going to fight to survive. But a fighting to survive is not the same kind of emotion and work as building an organization and fighting to win. Right? That's different strategically, and which is why we don't need like these heavy-handed people destroying us to fight back. And that really says, if you believe that really says that you are undermining and don't have any belief in your ability to organize people or to empower people at your level, because you need your enemies to organize them by beating you.
Wow. It's interesting. We as you know, debate coach, we run a lot of different arguments and theories. Back in 2016 or 2015, when Obama was in office, we ran an argument that said, we need to do something negative, right? Like, as in, we're too complacent. We're allowing all these things to happen. We only get mad and motivated, and that's when we need to fight. And ironically, Trump came around next year, right? And kind of really undermined the argument, because it seems in reality, right, when you're all mobilizing for like fight or flight, you're not building. It's just a rear action, right? Like you're not doing the things that are necessary to build organizations when you're too busy fighting on a particular front. It's much easier to build, it's much easier to get funding for and do the work of an office of anti-violence program when it's backed, when the state and the federal government are like, yeah, we are hearing you. You actually have gone to the White House for these things, and you're able to like build, right? And so I think that that's really important, because a lot of people are like, there needs to be war before there's peace. We need to wake up the Black masses through like inflicting more trauma. And
Yeah, and I think that's like backwards. But at the end of the day, it seems to me that in times of victory, you need to be strengthening yourself because you know that things are cyclical and peace is not always going to be present. That there are going to be times where you have to struggle harder than others. And so those are the times when you prepare yourself. So when struggle comes, you're ready to push back. The problem is we don't organize. We're so busy on the defense that when we get gains, we actually get upset at the people who've gotten us the gains because we'll say that somehow that's the system and, you know, they got us that. So now we're complacent and we're not fighting back. Your line is not sharp enough. Your theory is not sharp enough. And you have not prepared people or educated people in a way to understand what's happening around them and that they have to continue to struggle. It seemed to me like if you're on a football field and you get to the 50-yard line, you don't give the ball back so you can get to the 20-yard line because in your mind, you think if we're on a 20-yard line on our own 20, that'll make us play harder. Yeah, it also reduces the probability that you'll win, that you'll score a touchdown, right? It does not make sense. So when you're advancing, when you get closer to the finish line or the touchdown, you actually should be playing harder. When you get closer to the finish line, when you're running, you actually should run faster, not slow. You don't slow down when you see the finish line in a track race. You actually take all the energy you have to get over and across the line. We've been organizing in a backwards way. Like we're advancing down the field, and the closer we get to the red zone, we actually feel guilty about being at the red zone. And so we throw interceptions so we can get back to the 50-yard line, and maybe we'll play harder because we got more ground that we must gain, which is really a backward and kind of destructive argument that people have been using to allow us to like move around in circles or push a rock up a hill to have it pushed back down on our head. You know, ultimately our job is to advance, and there are going to be times when we lose the ball and we fumble and we have to retreat or regain or recruit, but we don't get angry with ourselves because we're advancing. That's actually what we're supposed to be doing, advancing and coming up with plays that advances us down the field so that we, in fact, score. And that just because we scored one touchdown does not make the game over. There's several touchdowns we may have to score. And then we got to prevent our enemies from scoring as well. So we're in this like give and take in this struggle. And we got to understand like theoretically and strategically what we're up against, right? And who we need in the game at a specific time, right? There are times when we need different strategies in the game and everybody don't play the same position, and you can't use the same people in the same circumstances. I mean, in different circumstances all of the time. When the play calls for a long pass, you can't give the ball to your running back. Right. And when we on offense, you can't put your defensive players in the game. So it's strategically, and people don't like when you talk about strategy. You know, I was at the thing at the bookstore and they say, oh, this strategy. You're talking about strategy. We don't need strategy. We just need this. No, we do need strategy. And people who believe that they don't need strategy are people you shouldn't be around because these people have not studied enough to be able to be involved and engaged in what you're involved and engaged in. Because if you involved in some, our enemies have strategy. Right.
Long term, short term.
Do you believe they've gotten this far off of luck? This is planned, thought out strategy, that they've been using consistently. And look, we've had strategies of our own that marched us to where we are. So we haven't just been twiddling our thumbs either, right? It's our job, this generation, our folks, everybody here. We just have to figure out how to strategize to move the ball even further down the field than we're in, and allow the people that are playing specific positions to play those positions well, right? You don't get mad at the wide receiver because he can't throw the ball downfield, because that's not his job. His job is to catch the damn ball. Why don't you get somebody to throw it to him? And the people that are throwing the ball need somebody to defend them, to protect them, so they have the time and the space to be able to get the ball down the field. All of those things are important for us to understand when we're doing this. And if we don't understand it that way, we're going to lose. And it's as simple as what it is. And as all of these forces organize themselves to prevent anything from happening here in New Jersey, it's really about us, right? So it's not about anything else but that. And if people don't see that, like, this is where we are. And all of the folks that you see that are running around saying all kind of craziness, that are out here doing things, getting more and more louder, and the kind of virulent, the kind of vitriol that they're pushing, and all the kind of craziness they're talking about, that is getting louder, that you have to understand why, right? And if you can see what's going on here, not only in this country but around the world, most people think that this stuff is about things that it's not about. All of the struggles that you see all over the world is about power. It's not about anything other than that. It's about power and control and land. It's not about anything else. And our struggles in this country are the same. It's not about anything, all this other stuff that you think it's about. It ain't about that.
Right.
It's not about that. People got personal problems and all kind of craziness that they're going back and forth with. The real issue is that people who have power want to keep it.
Right.
That's it. They want to keep it. And you challenging it means they have to give it up. And why would they do that?
Right. Or they have to find different ways to keep it. They can't do
right.
that. They can't have the same playbook.
Right. Right. And why would they just give it to you? Why would they? Power conceives nothing without demand, right? Why would they do that? Why would they, in their right mind, give you something that would empower you over them? Or period. They won't do that. They're not going to relinquish their power or their authority or their things, right? So that's really more than anything. That's really at the base of most conflicts, right?
And when you're talking about the benefit to a lot of people from just a concerted organization over issues that are important to the state from our perspective, it seems like you're saying that can be something that pushes us a lot further, right? Like whether you get all the way and win, or whether you just run an incredible campaign that pushes issues that people have to deal with. What are some of those issues, right? Like, what are some of the things that you being, and again, this is just...
you first of all, you never get in a fight not to win it, right? You ain't gonna get all punched in the face for no reason. Like, you got to get in there. You got to fight back. You have to. Right. The objective is to subdue your opponent, right? That's clear. But at the end of the day, like the specific things that our housing, which is, I think, is one of the number one issues around the country and here in New Jersey, the cost of housing, the access to housing, the amount of housing, the number one issue. Housing and access to education and opportunity is a problem here still in New Jersey. Deep levels of segregation, both by race and by class, is a part of that, right? People complaining about their taxes and the amount that they have to give, but they've organized the state in such a way that it's almost impossible for that to happen unless we just give people breaks. And the people that they're arguing to give tax breaks to are the wealthy and not working class and struggling people in New Jersey. They're just period. I mean, access to employment and expanding the economic market by allowing people to actually participate in it, right, is a key issue that need to be discussed. And so when people start talking about, so for example, the whole struggle, the discussion about New Jersey Transit and the fact that it's in debt, the debate would be about how do we keep New Jersey Transit out of debt and make it solvent? Like, how do you keep New Jersey Transit alive to do the things that it needs to do? But the discussion really should be about how to create access to jobs and employment and wealth and opportunity. And why does the transportation line? Because the transportation, the way it is, does not do that.
Wow.
So the conversation that we have now is the conversation about how to keep something alive that was not serving us anyway.
And that's, I think you're saying this about the perspective of looking at it as in solving problems that we need actually to be solved. Because
right.
Because
there are people in rural counties in New Jersey who don't have access to transportation at all, public transportation at all, who are poor. You got people in Bridgeton, in Sussex, and Warren County, poor Black and brown communities and white communities who are in these areas who are not connected to jobs, not connected to wealth. You got people in Newark who live 5 minutes from the largest economic engine in the state of New Jersey, the Port Authority, and it'll take them over an hour to get there. They're not connected to those jobs. And not just Newark, you're talking about Elizabeth and all these other places as well. So that adds a couple of more thousand brown and Black people to that equation, right? So all of those things.
And to break down what you're saying in transportation, are you talking about like if I want to go to like one of the local malls and I go from Penn Station, if we drive, it's like a 10, 15-minute drive. If we're taking public transportation, it could be an hour and a half.
Right, because there's no direct connection. Right.
You gotta go someplace, get a bus, go someplace else, get a bus. It's almost, and
see, let me stop you. And if you're thinking about it from the perspective of the way other people think about it, they thinking about it like people going there to shop. But the way we thinking about it is that that's where the jobs are.
Right.
How do I get there to work? Right? How do I get to the airport, to the seaport? Like, how do I get to the city? How do I get downtown Newark? How do people in the region of Newark move around? Not just Newark, Irvington, East Orange, Elizabeth, all of these people that are in even in between multiple counties, Hillside, get back and forth to jobs, to their home, to resources, to opportunity, right? And to food. That's why people can open things in their community and sell the food 2 and 3 times more than what it actually costs, because it's easier. You don't have access to get to these places. So you have to get bad food in your community that's overpriced because it's around the corner. It's easier for you to access. The transportation by itself, so the argument is about, let's put money back in New Jersey Transit. Okay, yeah, but New Jersey Transit, the way it exists, should not exist that way. And that's not in a discussion and would not be in a discussion.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? It would not be in a discussion if it's not raised in that frame, in the frame of thousands of working class Black and brown people who don't have access to anything. So when those bus lines got cut down, all of us panicked.
Right.
They looked at it just like an economic crisis and we'll get it back one day. And somebody so I had to do an op-ed. I had to write a letter. I had to do all these things to say, listen, if this happens, these people can't go to work.
Right.
They can't go to school. Right. Never mind work. They can't even go to school. Right. And I'm talking about high school, college, they can't even go to school. They can't go to work. They can't go to school. They can't go to markets. They can't go to, how are you going to get there?
Right.
Like
right.
And it's just not Newark. And if you start looking at it as regional, because we all over the place, they split this up. We didn't split it up. Like Newark is really Irvington, East Orange, that's Newark. Parts of Hillside, Elizabeth, all of that. And that's multiple counties that we're talking about here, right? That's multiple counties. And if you add Harrison to that, in these other areas on the other side, you're talking about a huge population of people. And when you start talking about transportation and other things too, school and government and all those other kind of things at the same time. But I mean, so I think that kind of discussion is something that people don't want to engage in, because it means like, wholesale change and investment in things that people don't want to invest in. It's okay for people to run around and say New Jersey is a progressive blue state. Because if you put it alongside of extremism, it looks that way.
Right.
It looks that way. And then you begin talking about, oh, you should be glad you're in New Jersey, right?
But really, you're talking about the level of income inequality in New Jersey is at some of the highest in the country.
That's the truth. And look, it's just all of these things overlap and intertwine. All of it, you know. Even when you talking about migration and immigration, all the migrants that are coming in. So we're not experiencing immigration like it was before, where people were getting 100,000 people over 3 or 4 years, 5 years, 100,000 people come in. They're talking about 100,000 people in a year because of the destabilization of people's economies around the world that this country has supported or engaged in. So the migratory kind of patterns that we're beginning to see are the direct result of American public policy. So at the end of the day, we're experiencing things in our cities and our municipalities. And the reason I raise that, because that's also a part of what we are going to have to discuss, because ultimately the density in these communities and these areas and the resources is what Eric Adams is dealing with, becomes more and more difficult for us, because now you all these people are coming because of that your foreign policy, and they show up here, then they can't even work because of your domestic policy. And then you want the people in the cities to take care of them without the resources to do so, which creates a plethora of other problems that we can't fix locally. And then you're going to put the blame on local mayors. And ironically, most of the mayors of these major cities today look like me.
Mm. So what?
New York, San Francisco, Dallas, New Orleans, Philadelphia. I go on and on and on and on. Houston, you know, Cleveland, Chicago. We in all of these places. They all of those mayors look like me. All of them.
Yep.
And like I know that like Eric Adams and in New York City, they're talking about billions, and they're talking about the level of migration that's hit the city pretty hard, and that they're trying to deal with getting federal funds, etc. How's that happened within Newark? Is Newark experiencing that in increasing levels?
Yeah, we getting left over. We getting folks that are coming from New York and places like. All you got to do if you want to see that, go to the food lines. If you go on Irvin Turner to the Martin Luther King, to the food line on Martin Luther King right there, and see the line going all the way down around the corner, all the way down the street, and look at the demographic and the makeup of the people in that line. And you'll see that we're getting migrants, people and their children in line looking for food. Because the domestic policy here does not give them the opportunity to work. Period.
Right.
And foreign policy has chased them out of their own country, either because of blockades, war, a government that ideologically doesn't believe what the United States believes, so they're putting pressure on them. All those kind of things are creating, or climate change.
Right.
Or climate change that are driving people out of these water basins and other places in their countries, looking like the Congo and all of those places over there that are suffering because of climate change. Those people are coming out of there. They're going to come out of there. They don't have no choice. They got to move. They're moving because of climate change, and that is because of policy. You know,
like the large amount of some are climate refugees as well.
That's right.
No.
That's right. And all of those policies, that's why it's important. Our actions affect what's happening, not just the region and nationally, but also internationally. And if we don't like begin to be more aggressive about how we organize and challenge what's going on, then we are going to find ourselves in a worse even predicament than we in now, right? So that's just the reality of the situation.
Because it's not like things just stay the same, right? There are always people who are moving, organizing, and I think one of the themes that you've always had is that everybody's organizing, but us.
Well, I would say that some of us have always been organizing. Like our folks always organize. They're going to do that. You know, we just have to organize more. And I would think that, you know, these people strike back, and we have to use the tools that we have to organize in a different way for this generation of folks that we're dealing with in the present sense, right? And we have to be sophisticated enough and mature enough to debate issues with each other, but also be unified.
And so an understanding, and that
But
comes
but that goes back, man. I think that what you said when we started this conversation, I think that they're organizing. We talk about this generation. I think that their organizing, though, looks a lot different than the organizing we know. In other
Right.
words, their organizing is not necessarily in person.
Right.
Their organizing seems to be a lot like what it looks like them organizing online. For instance, you know, when you talk about the mayor out of Philadelphia, one of the problems that he got is, you know, with these kids being able to, you know, automatically send out some sort of large text to each other and just go and bum rush some store, right? And imagine if they were doing that based around organizing around an idea, right?
Right. Right.
You know, now that's powerful, but
Absolutely.
but our organizing is not necessarily what we've come up with. So when you talk about what we were doing in college, you know, how we would, you know, go to these different events around the country, see all these different elders, you know, teaching and so forth, and pick up books. Well, that's different. The question is, though, is how do we come up with the message that is going to be able to attract them based around the kind of ideas that is going to be worthy of getting them to come out.
Right.
How do we do that?
That's right. That's real. And I started talking a little bit about this AI stuff and how heavy and deep that stuff is. But you're right, and we have to change the methodology of how we attract, pull in, sustain folks. But even in that, we have to make sure that the content that we're giving people is solid. Right. And that they understand that they have to be able to use the tools that they have now to be able to get access to all kinds of information. They actually have the ability to get more information than we've ever had been able to get.
Right.
Quicker.
That's right.
Quicker.
And that could be dangerous, right?
Of course it is. That's why they keep it distracting us with foolishness.
Yeah.
In there, out of there, whatever. Keep us with foolishness because the potential of what can happen is just enormous.
Right. Yeah. When it comes to organizing principles, I think that there was no better influence on generations of people than your father's poem, African World Revolution, which was simple, yet it's how institutions work. Meet once a week, right? Like there's a consistency in just meeting, seeing, talking to one another where we come together, then we can get things done. And doing it consistently over time is ultimately how institutions are built. Mayor just jumped off or went off again, but he's back. Yay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. But I got to get ready to get out of here anyway, brother. It's 7:00.
All right. Well, we appreciate you. Appreciate you a lot. As always, it's always a masterclass. It's always learning a lot of stuff. So I appreciate that. Always appreciate that.
Thank you, my brother.
Brother. Thank you, brothers. Y'all take care.
Yes, sir.
You too, man.
All right, brother. Happy birthday to Joy.
Oh, yes. And happy birthday. And again, thanks for that. Thanks for the education. Thanks for the masterclass. One of the reasons why I like our show, because of the conversations that we have, right? So we're getting ready to have our next guest come in. And speaking of conversations, and speaking of good conversations, well, first, thank you, welcome, big thank you to Lisa Durden, right, for putting this together. She's a filmmaker. She is a media personality. She is a incredible person of high integrity, because anytime she does something, she does it with the utmost integrity, and always enjoy our interactions, because and the thoughtful, all that other stuff. So thank you so much, Lisa, for putting all of this together, and congratulations on the Conversations Project. Also, thank you for also coming, wonderful guests, Tracey Baker-Simmons, legend in television production, and one of the founders of urban reality television programming, right? Like, so it is incredible to have you on as well. So we are very happy, right? So there's a project on HULU called the Conversations Project that is just amazing. It's an amazing talk show that has I have wine, because I just got a little wine.
Yes.
Because it's a wonderful project. If you haven't seen it on Hulu, you got to see it on Hulu. It's a series of conversations with people eating good, right? You have a chef making good food for people, good wine, and deep conversations with a lot of different Black people in ways that we're just often not used to seeing, right? From different walks of life, all meeting at the same table and talking about some incredible issues that we talk about at the dinner table, but doing it in a way that I think is refreshing, right? That I think is like it's life affirming. So, got to see the show. It is the most beautiful Black talk show that I've seen, and that we having good conversations with Black people and excellence, and community, and coming together for ideas. So thank you. What is the thing that, like, how is it working on the project? Just a general throw out conversation. How is it working on this project? How is it putting people together?
I can go first. I mean, honestly, we really were thoughtful in making sure that that there was a comedian at every table, which of course helps, when the conversations are heavy, or to keep things moving. And then it was just the thought process of making sure there was different voices from different genres, and just people who we felt were ingrained in the culture, from Jim Jones and Roxanne Shante to Melvin, the first Black astronaut, and just all sorts of mixed bag of people that really could speak to the culture. And we didn't prep them. We had pre-interviews with them just to explain the show, but we really allowed people to just come on and share and be honest and open about their thoughts on the different topics, and just felt that the richness of that would resonate to an audience.
And so, Lisa, tell us what some, like, your experience in putting the show, these segments together.
Well, actually, this was kind of a little bit of a different role for me. I'm generally a producer, director. So in this role, I played what they call the supervising story producer. That's kind of like a little bit more, I guess, a part of you're part of kind of driving the story in a way in the edit in some ways. So I'm kind of like helping to supervise Notorious community, helping to supervise people who are trying to take the images and the conversations and making sense of it, because this is like a big blob. And then helping all of us shape that, because there's 6 episodes. And then we had 3 or 4 story producers, and then we had editors. So I'm kind of trying to supervise those people as we go around looking at how the footage makes sense, right?
Okay,
Well, where the footage pops here or not there. So that was kind of like a team thing to kind of get the story down, if you will. So usually as a producer, I'm at the front end of things. I'm usually the one trying to figure out who we're going to book. We're trying to figure out sending out call sheets. I'm usually the one doing that kind of administrative stuff as a producer. So I did do a little bit of that just because, it's a small crew, it's a small production company. So if there was who can we get for this? I threw out ideas and names. And if I had numbers, I helped there too, but that wasn't my specific role. So in this case, it was something this is my first time supervising story producing, but producing plays a role as well. So I thought it was really good. And I think for me, because I played that role, I had to watch the footage a lot. So when we shot all of the conversations, and now I'm looking at the footage a lot, you learn a lot about the conversations, and I'm sitting there looking at the edit, I'm yelling at the TV and things like that. So it was really I watched it a lot before I watched it. You feel what I'm saying? So
right.
It really gave me the sense that this was something that really had to happen. When you have an idea, you think, oh, it's a good idea. But as I watched it more and more, every episode over and over again, and so it worked, I said, this is an important conversation. And it came along as I went along in the project. It was really an excellent
and I love that part because the stories flowed so beautifully. I didn't understand what it is that you did until you broke it down. But in watching it, right? Like all of the footage, and I was going to ask, how did all of this wonderful footage flow so smoothly? So thank you for that. We're going to go back to that, but I'm like, okay, so I'm blushing, I'm happy, I'm smiling.
Yes,
Naturi Naughton came on.
Cause she cute.
Hey,
okay.
How are you guys? So sorry for the delay.
Hey, girly.
No worries.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm great.
Yes, and how are you? And how is your role in this? Because I know I love getting the different people together. By the way, big fan since the singing days. So really great having you on, right?
Oh, thank you.
So how is it being a part of these conversations? What is it like? And especially in terms of the feel or the vibe of the project?
Oh, well, first off, it was amazing to be a part of this. I'm so glad that the amazing Lisa called me. Lisa Durden's known me since I was a little girl in East Orange, New Jersey. And I'm so glad that they are doing a project like this. Hello?
I'm here.
Okay. I was like, I thought I got disconnected, child. Nope. Okay. So essentially the involvement for me was exciting because I've never really done anything where it wasn't a scripted experience. It was an experience where you could really speak your truth and you could have real talk, with people. And I thought that was really exciting. The conversation felt very organic. It didn't feel contrived or forced. And this whole project is also an opportunity for us as Black people, women and men, to have an open dialogue with each other. And we learn from each other, even, some of those challenging conversations that are tricky to have. We had them and we laughed, we cried, we talked, we had good food. So for me as an actress, it was nice to just do something that had no script, no one telling me what to say, and just be myself.
Right.
What were some of the tricky conversations, right? And how was that navigated? What conversation would you have considered a tricky conversation?
Oh, goodness, we talked about so many things. I think
hair
was one was hair. We talked about Black hair, and just but also we touched on colorism a little.
Right.
I was gonna get to that because that's always a tricky kind of challenging conversation, I think, particularly amongst women and women of color, because we've been pinned against each other so much of who, if you're light, you're red, you're too dark, you're cute for a dark-skinned girl. That's what they used to say to me, growing up. And I'll be like, what do you even mean by that as a brown-skinned woman? And now everyone's like, oh, melanin popping, and I'm like, okay, now you want the chocolate. Okay.
Right.
So it's
and the light-skinned girls ain't in style no more.
Y'all still hot. Y'all still cute. Y'all are definitely, you still cute, girl. But I'm just saying there's always this thing. So that conversation, I think it can get emotional. I think also code switching was one of the things we
That
talked
was good.
about.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that
You
was
know,
good.
code switching and being this imposter syndrome, this idea that maybe you have to be another version of yourself to be considered, you know, good enough or respected. And I felt like that was really illuminating to hear so many other people talking about it. May the melanin pop. Somebody said, oh, I love it. I love
Zaida's a mess.
and I think that that conversation allowed us to really dig deeper into what some of the scars that Black people have, you know, going back to slavery. And just as a people, we have been living with the scars. And if we don't talk about it, we won't be able to heal properly. So I felt like colorism, code switching, and even our hair. How our hair is, you know, but that was empowering because we all talked about how our hair is a form of protest in a way throughout the history of, you know, the culture, whether it be braids, afro, locks.
Yep.
You know, if you want to do a bob or cut your hair natural to a short or wig, everything that you choose, our hair is also a form of assertion of who you are, and it's a statement. And I thought that was really empowering as well.
So can I ask you guys, you ladies, a question? So, do you think that by you all having these honest conversations, do you think that you all are teaching America in a way from a Black woman's perspective what life is really like for you all and for us as a people?
I will say this, that because I'm one of the executive producers on the show, and the other two executive producers are actually white males. Interestingly enough, a lot of feedback that we've gotten from the show, especially from people who are not people of color, was that they learned so much. That basically by listening to people explain things like colorism or discussing their hair. I was on one of the episodes and we talked about the N word and having agency, not over the N word, and just about being parents or mothers to Black sons, what those shared experiences are like, and what we have to teach and how we have to address our children. And honestly, I do feel like the Conversations Project, it is a little spark that will spread. But I do feel like, one, for us, for our culture, people watch it and they're happy to just hear themselves and see themselves in this space, saying and being able to express the feelings that we all have or thoughts that we're having. And I do think that for other cultures, they are actually being able to say, oh shoot, I never thought about that. I didn't know why they felt that way. Oh, that makes sense now. And so I do feel like originally I was kind of afraid that we might be giving away too much. Like,
no, it's
you're not at our dinner table for a reason.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. Tracey said that because one of the things I had to do as a supervising story producer is actually address notes from the executive producers, address notes from the network, doing the dance of what's being said in this conversation. So even as a Black person, I mean, I'm a supervising story producer on one end, but I'm still a Black person, right?
Right.
So I know that when you put something out there to the world, anybody can see it from any culture. You don't get to police who's watching what they think. So I felt like these were gonna be conversations that, you know, like Black folks, we know what this is, but it was gonna be kind of a voyeuristic kind of thing for folks outside the culture to kind of like peer through the window and see what's going on. So for me, things didn't get a little, you know, ticky ticky boom boom is my phrase, until I started kind of saying, when I'm looking at the footage, like, oh snap, the N word. I mean, like throughout the whole dinner, Roxy and Shantae's dropping the N word, Nigger, and they saying the actual word. And I'm like, oh snap, you know, so I'm looking at that. So I'm thinking like, I know that episode's going to come out. They said many things at the dinner beyond just that word. And I think one of the things you said, Tracey, if you ain't Black, you can't say the word. And you know, if you're not Latino, something she said, you can say it, whatever. So
no, I was say, it's my stance, and I'm sticking
your
to
stance. So my thoughts were, how can I, behind the scenes, as a supervising story producer, keep that conversation as authentic as possible without, and do the dance without it being a little hard for even blacks to hear, because every black, see, here's the thing.
Yeah.
You just can't run up on black folks, nigga, this, you just can't do that at a barbecue.
Yeah.
Right.
People think black folks run around calling black folks nigga. No, we don't do that.
Right.
You just can't call me that. I don't just use that word loosely. It depends on the relationship.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. I was hoping that, you know, the way that episode ended up, with many things we discussed in that particular episode, but that particular segment didn't kind of like, you know, feed the whole, well, if they can say it, we can say it. But I thought it was done so well, the way in which it unfolded, that I felt confident after looking at that footage, all the editors doing it a few times, leaving stuff in there that was authentic and not being afraid of that conversation. I thought it was a perfect dance.
Yeah.
And then for me, in Tracey, I don't know if you want to kind of talk about what you said about like some production you wanted. You wanted to say the N-word or something. And then I'll jump and say this, and Naturi, you can talk about this afterwards. I thought that the thing at her table, Naturi's, was when they said, you know, rest is our ancestors' wildest dreams.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
so if you guys can talk about those two elements, those are my two faves of all time. As the, you know.
Right. Yeah, Naturi, you could talk about yours first.
Sure.
I loved it. It was amazing.
No, thank you. And then it was you guys as story, like you were saying, coming up with different story points of what to talk about and how to do the dance. You all did it beautifully. So thank you for including me and also keeping it that real. So I thought it was beautiful. But one of the things that I loved in my episode was about rest. And rest is our ancestors' wildest dreams, because we as a people, we almost pride ourselves as, wait, I'm more hardworking than you. No, you work. I want to work hard. It's like being the hardworking, hardworking man, and I've been working my life. It's almost like that has been our claim to fame, but there's so much more to us as a people than how hard we work. And I want to see a moment when we can be celebrated for how lovely we rest, how we how we enjoy what we worked for. Because part of the conversation that made me, you know, in that conversation, it made me think of my grandmother. Because to always tell me, you know, what she had to do to get me there, you know, going to college and sending, you know, her children, my mother, to college, and me thinking, okay, she said, I want you to just learn how to take it easy and rest. And I didn't know how to do that, because I thought my existence was valued based on how hard I worked all the time. And nothing's wrong with hard work, but I didn't really know how to enjoy the work. Even now, I'm an actress. I'm doing this on Power, whatever, you know, whatever it is that I've done as a performer. I forgot that, oh, wow, you know, thank God that I'm here and I can rest. I just had a baby a few months ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. That's why I was late. My 4-month-old baby just decided to have a moment. Sorry. So you know how it is. And I have a 6-year-old too. I'm managing a few things and just got married. So
congratulations again.
Thank you. Last year, me and my husband got married. So it's a lot, but it's beautiful. But I'm just saying, the fact that I'm, you know, even in the strike right now with the actors, it's giving me an opportunity to rest. To sit still.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Sometimes it hurts, you know, but it actually is necessary. And I think the conversation that we had reminded us all that it's okay to just enjoy and be in your glory. Stand in your glory and rest.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite segments.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that was real. I mean, honestly, I've been mentoring young producers, because even though we're in a non-scripted space, the business is still slow. And I just keep saying, look, don't focus on that, because you're going to look up and you're going to be super busy and you're going to be like, dang, I should have
took that time.
Yes, and took a break, cleaned up my office and took a nap, you know, things like that. I've been taking a lot of naps lately.
Oh, I wish I could get a nap, girl.
I know.
Please.
Yeah. But on the show that I was on, what I said or what I explained is I worked on a series up in the Dykeman area, and basically the cast, some of them were, I believe they were Dominican, but some of them did not identify Black. But it was interesting because I guess culturally they had grew up, the way they grew up in their community, they used the N-word. And I basically, as a producer, took a stance and said, I'm sorry, if you do not identify Black, then you can't use that word, because if you use the word, it's automatically a derogatory statement, because you're not using it in familyhood. You're not uniting because you don't identify. So around me, it's off limits, because where I come from, you're not like, look, where I come from, we don't call each other the B word either.
Right.
You call me a B, it's like, it's on like, we got an issue. It's not, we don't love each other.
Right. And right. And
so basically that's what we shared on there.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't even that I don't use the word. I come from the South. It was very common. My grandmother used it. So it's not that I don't use the N-word, but I am very conscious of who is allowed to use it, and what you're not going to do is call me that.
Right.
I'm not going to work.
I'm a teacher.
That part.
And right, absolutely. Because like what I tell people is, if you're not white and you're using the word around me, I'm thinking if I have to kill you.
Exactly.
Like I'm thinking maybe you might need to die real soon if you're using it, because I'm like, it's a threat.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know you. I don't know how to read you. You're using the N-word. I got to think about if you're a threat.
Right.
And if you want to, so like, nah, don't even.
But what I loved about the show was that we could have that conversation at that table, and now it's out in the universe that people can see and understand. This is how we perceive this. This is how we take this in and understand it. So I do appreciate, because even Roxanne admitted, it's probably not going to go away, especially not in hip hop.
Right.
But we're all clear, who has agency over the word now, and that is us, and that is gospel.
Yep. I agree.
And I loved that conversation, and I just want to, even when you're talking about like Dominicans, I know famous writer Junot Diaz, who identifies as Black Dominican, and he'll use it all through his works. But it's because he's like, Dominicans are Black. Like he is Black. He identifies that, but not many do. Many don't. Right?
Well, that's also the brainwashing of the Spanish.
Correct.
Spaniards
exactly.
Split up Haiti and Dominican. We're all the same people. Like, I hope. That's a big topic that we even touched on at our table. It's unfortunate that we have been again brainwashed and conditioned to separate. It's the same thing with colorism. The field Negro versus the house Negro.
Yes.
So somehow you got it in your mind. Well, I'm better because I'm in the house or whatever. But y'all still all in the same pot, just melting at different, floating at different levels. But unfortunately, there's always this challenge, because I grew up around a lot of Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, and it's like, oh, I'm not Black. It's like they'd be offended if you say, and it's like I wonder, if there was more conversation around the history of how the Dominican Republic came to be about, maybe there's clarity on our connection rather than our disconnect.
Yeah. Right. And I would like to give kudos to Anscape. Basically, they were our distributor, and they really, kudos to them for saying, we want to do something that is a throwback to the salons, to the Harlem Renaissance, and honestly allowing us to have these authentic conversations. We did have to, Rick Van Meter and AC Rowe were the other executive producers and the original people who worked with Anscape, and Mark and Chef to create the project, and then asked me to come to be a part because they wanted to make sure there was a definitive Black voice in the space that was, really driving what the conversations would be about, knowing that those things matter to our culture and was safe to have conversations with the culture, and not two white men deciding what is okay for us to talk about. So much respect to them as well, and much respect to Anscape, Raina, and Jason, who also saw that this could work, that this space could work. And, that company, Anscape, I think is a part of, the ESPN Disney
umbrella.
Yeah, umbrella. And but being able to push forward a project like this to land on a major platform like Hulu, it's a big testament to those people just saying that the culture, I get this all the time with people that we need something else besides the love and hip hops and the blah 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 blah.
Mhm.
Right.
And then along comes the Conversations Project. So I mean, I haven't yet, but for the holidays, I really do plan to create a big campaign around saying to people, because here's the thing, it's just like everything. If you vote, and that's who gets to be on,
Right. Right.
right? You're voting with your viewership
Right.
about what
Fair.
needs to be on TV.
Right.
So if we're not watching this show
Right.
and sharing it, and it's on a streaming platform, so
Right.
the key is for people to share, to say, hey, you should check this out. Get Hulu for 30 days. I don't care. But get Hulu, check this out. Say to the distributors, we want more of this too.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, how do we get balance in art and imagery of us as a people?
And I think the brilliant thing about the show, and the brilliant thing about all of you and what you do with it, is that, I noticed this. I'm a debate coach, teacher. I have a lot of different students that teach in Newark, and the definition or the understanding of what it means to be Black has shifted, and it's changed, and it's morphed, and I think it's embodied in your show. Can you
Thank
talk
you.
about the different ways of like it seems like, I don't know if it was deliberate or not, but it really does seem like there's a multiplicity of ways of being Black, and that are infused through your show that are all real. Like, talk about that. I want each of you to talk about with your experiences of that, or do you see it as a thing?
Well, I want to challenge you on saying that it changed, because it never changed, right? We were always here. We were always in. We were always infinite. We were always many things. It's just that unfortunately the media didn't give us the space to be those things, or especially in this authentic space, in a space that's non-scripted. So what we did was simply say, and we didn't even say we have to have a singer, we have to have this, we have to have that. We just said we have to have a representation of Black voice. And what does that look like in the world? And basically book people based on that, whether they're an actor or activist, mainly not actors, but authors, historians, politicians. Shine is on there. Just really saying we exist, and we've always exist in this space. If you think about the salons back during the Harlem Renaissance, that's what was happening in those rooms. Those people were in those rooms, and they were all different. And look, whether they were a Nina Simone or Harry Belafonte or the doctor down the street, or that always existed. We always have existed in that way. We just have not had platforms to allow people to know and understand that about us.
And more specifically, and part of the conversation we had was on biraciality and when how people define themselves. And that's really what I was talking about in terms of like that, just the demographic shift.
Yeah.
And the identity things that go with it. Like Halle Berry was like, I'm Black, right? Never had dealt with the biracial question. Obama, I'm Black, never really dealt with the biracial question. But it seems like there are more ways of understanding that are coming through in your show, which is what I was trying to hint at, like trying to go toward.
Yeah, I mean, I do think I appreciate Elaine Welteroth being there and being, because now, look, I was born in the 60s, so growing up, people would say they mixed, and now we have a new term, it's biracial. But I do appreciate the fact that the conversation at the table, where they were able to also ally and to explain the challenge of that, because I don't think anyone thinks of that. We think we look at them as having light skin privilege than we do that they're challenged with. I have this white side and I have this Black side, and I don't even know if either one really wants me. or where do I fit into this bucket, you know?
But what is it that others think about? Just the difference and what it the because there's a lot of love that's in the show, right? And there's a lot of love of Blackness. Is there something about that multiplicity of Blackness, and how would you deal with that question, Lisa or Naturi?
I'll let Naturi go, and I'll go after Naturi.
I would deal with that question. I think it's a great question. How do you, because you said what was it? You said, I think the multiplicity of
ways of being Black, right? Like the different forms of Black masculinity or femininity.
Or gender role. I mean, everything is evolving, right? But I do think that what this show does, to your point, is celebrating that multiplicity, celebrating those, kind of different ways to be Black, where you don't feel in a box, where sometimes even for me as a performer, often the Black character has to talk a certain way, look a certain way, act a certain way. And I'm like, well, I went to Catholic school, I speak very well. What is not Black about that? And I have been told, even with executives, oh, you speak so well, you're so articulate. You're from East Orange? Someone has said, and I said, yeah, I was born and raised in East Orange, spent a lot of my years in Newark, New Jersey, developing my craft. And people are so shocked. Well, I thought Black, I think they might have an impression of Blackness that gives them the idea that, we aren't educated, or we don't know how to speak well, we're not articulate, or we can't communicate, or certain things. And I'm like, oh no, we out here. Like Tracey said, we've always been here. And there's so many of us in diverse settings, in background, in race, in biracialness, in just, different textures, different complexions, even our body types. We're now able to talk about, celebrating being curvy, being slim, being tall. Women come in many different packages, and we are the standard. The Black woman's body is what some of the other races are imitating.
Amen.
So we are the trend, and we are the standard. We are the thing that you aim to be. And in a lot of ways, I think the show Conversations Project gives us a seat at the table where we celebrate and embrace and say, oh no, we are so many amazing things that we're not going to allow you to put us in a box because we can't fit.
I think that for me, the Conversations Project showed everybody that Blackness is not monolithic.
Yeah.
Right? Because even at the table, we had different kinds of Blacks.
Oh, we did.
Mark was from London. That's a different kind of Black man. Because when he
not Mark, Chef.
I'm sorry,
Chef David.
Yeah, Chef David. Mark is the sports guy. Mark David, Chef David, he's from London. So when he talked about when he gets stopped by the cops, he's from London, and they let him go.
Yeah, and his accent.
I'm paraphrasing, obviously.
Yeah.
So there's a different kind of Black, a different kind of Negro. Then you had Shine, who's really he's from Belize.
That's right.
Shine, child, when I was looking at that footage, and Shine said, well, African Americans have already gotten their reparations. I was going through the doggone computer like, Shine, I know you didn't. So even me. So as I was watching it as the supervising story producer and looking at the footage and trying to figure out what cuts to get in, I was talking at the computer too. So you'll see all these various types of voices who are Black, and we're not monolithic, and we don't all agree. So they'll see there's not this big kumbaya thing going on as well. And you'll see different. Nobody got angry, but there was very passionate things. You saw intergenerational Blacks. You saw that old school was different than new school. So I like when Brett Gray said, young people, when I had on this outfit, and a man said to me, a Black man said, you gonna wear that? He said, yeah, older dudes are scared to shine or something like that. So like you saw all of that.
Oh yeah, so, Brett Gray talked about wearing sparkle or glitter.
Sparkle, yes, sparkle. So I feel like the Conversations Project also show, we've said it before, that Black's not a monolith. So don't try to pigeonhole. Lisa's loud, Lisa's aggressive, Lisa's wild, Lisa turns up, I'm tiki boom boom, but that's not Tracey. Don't pigeonhole her to that. Nobody does it to white people. You have all kinds of white folks. You have the Roseanne Barr kind of white folks. You've got the educated white folks, and they're allowed to, and all in between, they're allowed to do all of that. And when white people say, "Oh my God, you're so articulate," they know we're articulate because we made the pyramids, we made math. They know it. They want us to feel some kind of way. It's a game. So they do know. They don't want us to know. So they try to keep. They do know. They want to keep that gaslighting going, so we can feel uncomfortable about ourselves.
Right.
So just because we have Cardi B and we have Meg Thee Stallion does not mean we don't have Naturi Naughton. The only thing that I think is different is to Tracy's point is we don't have enough variety. So I love that we don't. It's okay to watch it. I like a little trash TV, but I don't only want to see trash TV. I like a little wop wop twerk twerk, but I don't only want to wop wop twerk twerk. So I like that we had something like the Conversations Project to show that we can. The breadth of us is shown, not just in one lane. So this is kind of like, and like Naturi said, not just in scripted things either. So it's okay to be scripted, but this is kind of like that middle, that sweet spot as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
you know.
And also, I feel like that the one thing that gripes me beyond is when, say, the housewives of Potomac or wherever have a fight. And then the conversation is, they're setting Black women back 20 years. The whole race. First of all, none of them are representative of me. They're not
exactly
anywhere. And right here today, in what's the date? October
20th,
2023. If those people in the House of Representatives in the Republican Party have not set white folks back 20 years, dare you ever say
right there
anything else that
right there
setting us back?
That part.
Because they're the ones who are.
Where's Ghost? Right. Look, Naturi, where's Ghost?
President the president can't even keep up. The conspirators falling like flies. They all going to jail or running to keep themselves out of jail. They don't ran up in the damn Congress and tore down the house. And
wait, what's that lady? And the one lady was in the movie theater. The one lady was in the movie theater getting felt up, and she was married and getting breasts getting groped in the movie theater and digging in crotches. What was her name? Volbert? I don't know who it was. I don't keep up.
Volbert. Yeah. But at the end of the day, if we are not, if we we shall not, and we should not, and we will not ever again allow anyone in any platform to say anything that's happening in one particular segment of 5 women is a representative and a setback for us, because we can simply turn to the Conversations Project and say, excuse yourself. 6 episodes, 50-something Black people that could have a conversation, and no one threw a glass of water or anything else at each other, speaking on high levels of things like critical race theory and everything else. We're not setting anything back. We're moving forward, and good luck to you, because you're not dragging us with your trash on television.
Oh,
right.
Nice.
Ding, 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 ding.
Okay. You better
ding, ding. Wait a minute, Tracy. Wait a minute. Now, you ticky boom boom, girl. I like it.
Yeah, because today, after watching that, Jim Jordan and Kevin McCarthy, I said, these people are embarrassed proof.
Right.
I like it.
They have no shame.
So I was wondering, I mean, this is a great show and a great conversation you all have. I was wondering if
the Conversations Project is a great conversation.
So I was wondering if
we got to keep the conversations going.
So I was wondering if y'all could just help me with a couple of things, right? So, Lisa and I've heard you, Tracy, both y'all are saying this. What do y'all mean when y'all say y'all do the dance? What does that mean? Like if y'all having a conversation and y'all do the dance, what does that mean? What is that?
Well, maybe Naturi can take that.
Oh, I think
because you're an actor.
I think she was just saying. I mean, that was more so. I think that was in reference to you play the game, you do the dance, you kind of just know how to get in where you fit in. If I'm not mistaken, I don't remember exactly. I think someone used
that might have been a question. You talked about being in a lot of different rooms and
okay,
and negotiate.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. For me, I'll just say doing the dance, it's almost like, I think we were talking a little bit too about the imposter syndrome. And sometimes, like when I first moved I drove my car across country from New Jersey to California. I moved to Los Angeles, and sometimes it can feel like a fish out of water. And, people are looking at you, you're not sure, do I belong? Am I good enough? Are people gonna, is my blackness gonna be used against me? Will I be accepted? It's so many things. So I guess part of what we talked about even on my episode and being Black is knowing how to switch. We were talking about code switching.
Code switching, yes. That was a good one.
And
yes.
that unfortunately, we've all got hit to the game in ways that I think doing the dance, to your question, is knowing what room I'm in and what the room needs. Right. And it doesn't mean, for me, it doesn't mean I'm not my authentic self. It just means, okay, I know that which crowd I'm performing in front of. If you will. And sometimes, you do the dance, you get in, you know what to, you make it work. You make it do what it do, baby. As Ray would
make it do what it do, baby.
So I think it's just knowing how to move. The dance really just means knowing how to move within any room so that you are fluid and smooth and you come out on top no matter what the audience is.
Yeah. And my experience is a little bit different because when I'm not behind the camera, because as you know, I'm a commentator, I'm a TV personality, and I've been on, Revolt TV and, Dr. Phil and fun shows and tight talking shows about race, culture, Kim Kardashian's ass. I mean, I don't always talk about important topics. So for me, mine is a little harder because at least in Naturi's case, she gets to act and play a role sometimes on camera, but I'm me on camera. So I've had to be okay with it. And listen, my feelings get hurt a lot, but I have to be okay with it. But I've had to be okay with this thing called, why you screaming, sis? Well, that's my passion. I'm not, Stephen A. Smith, they don't say he's screaming.
Right.
Nancy Grace can talk like this, and I'm Nancy Grace, and she's all up in her camera, and nobody says she's screaming. So I'm a passionate person. I talk like this, and trust me when I tell you, if I scream, I will bust your damn eardrum. So trust me, you've never heard me scream. Believe me, it comes off from the diaphragm like a singer. And then this angry Black woman, I get that a lot because I'm myself. It's not like Naturi's a character. So if I come aggressive, if I'm on a platform talking about something with passion and I'm using my body and I'm lifting up and doing this kind of thing, sometimes I don't. It depends on my passion. Then I'm seen as aggressive, and angry, not just by whites, by Negroes.
Right.
And I will say this, and I'm gonna name a name. I was so hurt by this person named Kim Gaddy. I love her dearly, and I told her face when I was on Fox News another time, not the time Tucker Carlson, and another time before that. And she wrote in my comments, "Why are you so angry, sis? When Black people do it, it makes me sick. Because Black men can act how they want on camera, talk loud, don't talk loud. White women, white men, and all in between. But the Black woman, there's such hatred and misogynoir around the Black woman's passion and voice and freedom to be herself that even Black people pounce." I said, Kim, girl, I'm not angry. I was on the show talking about a topic. I don't even know these people. I'm not even mad. Right. You didn't kill my mama. Right. So we can't even have passion. So that's where that whole, like, if I didn't have a little self-esteem, I would fall prey to, code switching and all of that. I have had to work on myself, and I do it constantly. Sometimes I do leave, these panels and things like that, thinking, "Oh, damn, why did you say it like that?" And I have to go, "Girl, that's just who you are." I do it to myself all the time. So I've got to do what I call self-talk to like Lisa every day. It's hard to like me, not you, but hard for me to like me because I'm like the Amanda Seals-ish kind of Black person that you can't stand. So for me, I get harmed by my own people more than whites when it comes to how I talk, how I present. Why was I so loud? It's not what you say, it's how you say it. No, it's just what the fuck I said.
Because there's this, because you feel like with Black people, there's this push toward respectability.
Correct.
Which is actually what, Tracey, I think you were talking about the similar thing when it came to Real Housewives or some of the projects that you have done before. Is that how you would talk about that dance as well?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't do Real Housewives. I just have a visceral reaction to people categorizing us
Everybody the same.
as
Yeah.
as that being a pure representation of Black women. And
Correct.
nothing against those women and how their lives unfold or whatever they have going on and how they decide to make their money by being on television in that way. It's just that I personally do just feel like, well, one, I want to fight for a balance in media and representation.
Exactly.
Because I just want us to see that that we're just different, just like the tables on the Conversations Project.
Exactly.
That we're not all that way or
the same.
Respond that way. And to be honest, what is it? The Housewives of Potomac and then the Atlanta Housewives are the only two Black house franchises. So sorry, but are the Housewives of New York and Orange County and all the rest of them that are getting sloppy drunk and the ones in New Jersey who flipping over tables, setting the white race back 20 years? No. So we ourselves have to stop signing up for that narrative. That's not our narrative. So stop it. If we said no, that doesn't work, and it's not that's not what you're going to say about us because that is happening there, that would be a big step in shutting that down, because it just that irks me, because it's not who we are. It is a group of people in their sector of the world doing that thing for that day. You know, we're not all athletes, we're not all singers, we are not. And so we just need to have more full representation of who we are as a people in the media. And that is done through these types of shows. And I think it's super, super important, because it's the only way to, and I feel that in those spaces, we still should have the right to be ourselves. We were able to sit at those tables and say, I do my hair this way or that way. I was able to say, you know, honestly, I'm sure there are a lot of my colleagues out there would have no idea that I use the N-word, that my family has used the N-word. They would never think that of me, because they have coined me something different. I was one of 5 Black kids in my high school. So my space and my world was so different. I went to a school that was predominantly white in college and things like that. So I'm sure there are a lot of people who would look at that way, but people who really know me know better, and they would know that. And it was a risk to say, you know, I didn't plan on being on the show. It really was, if a guest didn't show up, I was going to be at the table. And that happened that day, and that was the topic. And what I decided to do was be honest and share my truths and allow it to land how it landed, and to be shared. And it's true, sometimes, you know, since the George Floyd, and even really before that, I remember having interviews, and people would want to work with a Black showrunner or Black executive producer. And I remember realizing early on in that process that I needed to say, I'm sorry, do you want a Black face or a Black voice? Because if you want the face, I'm probably not your girl, because what you're going to find out about me real quick is I am not going to be quiet about anything that's not kosher. Where my culture is concerned and where my people is concerned, 1, because my name going on it. 2, because I got a lot of blue checks on my name in social media, and folks be looking me up and talking crazy to me about your bull crap. So let's just be clear what you want. And I'd say in an interview, I might not be your person. And I'm okay with not being your person, because what I am is Black, and I'm standing for that first, 10 toes down on that first. And then we could talk about doing a great job. I can do a great job, but what I'm not going to do is be your clown.
I want to ask a question about safe spaces. I don't mean to take over as a host, but I was thinking this because I know when I'm on TV a lot, when I'm on Revolt, and I'm talking about the Carly Russell story or anything, I feel differently, even though it's the same battle, than when I'm on Pix 11 or, you know, Dr. Phil's show. So I don't feel as safe when I'm on these other shows. I'm still me, but I still feel myself talking. I still feel my body there. I'm still thinking a lot. So in this case, but when I'm on Revolt, I feel like I'm myself and I can just be Lisa and be media. So how did you guys feel about the table itself? Did you feel like in the conversations projects, because it was all of us, did you feel like it was a safe space versus, once again, talking to Karens and trying to get them to, understand? How did y'all, so I'm just asking about the safe space feeling. Did you feel that way? Naturi,
so let me, so before you answer that, so then Lisa, on Revolt, you don't feel like you've got to do that dance?
No, I'm never doing the dance, but I feel I'm never doing the dance, but when I'm on white platforms, I'm not doing the dance, but I feel myself not doing the dance.
Right.
It's hard to say. When I'm on Revolt, I'm not doing the dance, but I don't feel that I'm not doing this. I just feel like comfortable while I'm not doing the dance. I feel like I'm running a marathon trying not to do the dance.
Wow.
On Revolt, I'm just handling things and getting off the platform.
Yeah.
Although anybody can be watching it, but anybody can be watching it of any race, but while I'm there in real time is my feeling. And so I can I feel it brings a feeling to me.
I agree. I'll just add to what Lisa has, and then I'm sorry, it's almost bedtime for my baby, so I have to, and I'm breastfeeding y'all, so I will have to jump off. But I do want to answer that and just contribute to this awesome conversation, because I'm learning things from Tracey over here. You are just schooling us all. I love your energy, sis.
Thank you.
And Lisa, love your energy always. And thank you all, gentlemen, for having me and just bring me on. But I want to just address the part about what Lisa, you were saying about feeling safe spaces. And it's interesting as an entertainer, and a lot of what you guys do in media, you touch on some great things, but also in our creative work, we have to create safe spaces. Safe to be a version of a character that is a Black woman, but not just, the hood girl that's like, what up, girl? What up, sis? We don't have to always be the stereotypical version of sometimes, what I think, if creative people, as we're writing things, as we're producing things, and we do have people who are the version of like, okay, I'm repping for the streets, but then there's Black women who are, on different platforms showing our intellect or our vulnerabilities. How about that? Or our love, like, why can't we believe? It's like so shocking, like, y'all still together, Black love, what? Black love is like a novelty. It just came out like 2 years ago. It's like a huge hashtag, Black love. I'm like, Black love been happening.
Black love being around.
Davis, Ruby D, my parents, the Naughtons, Ezra and Brenda Naughton. My parents been married for 52 years. My parents, the Couches. And they're from East Orange and Newark, New Jersey. And then all over the world, we are Black love, and we are intelligent, and we are complex. And I just think the safe space has to start with our own homes. It's just like you all said, in your own backyard. And it's sometimes Black people that are the ones saying, you angry, sis.
Exactly.
The safety has to be our responsibility first. Because we can't expect other people outside of us to make us feel safe, because they don't care. That's not their concern. They're worried about, when a Black woman cries, for example, or is vulnerable. And I've dealt with this on sets before, and I've had some hard days, and it's just, you have emotional moments. But when you cry, it's like, just being difficult. But if my white counterpart is crying for the same thing, my goodness, we are so sorry. Wait, get her. We are immediately hovering around her to lift her up and aid her in any way. So let's make sure the safety starts with us as, Black and brown people as a whole.
Exactly.
Because don't be mad at nobody else not protecting. We talk about protecting Black women, protecting each other. Protect us first within your own home, within your own yard, so everything that we want others to do, let's do it for us first. Let's create the work that applauds us and celebrates our beauty. So that's just my 2 cents. The safety starts with us.
I love
that. You're absolutely right. I just want to share with you before you leave. Remember, Malcolm said that the most unprotected woman in America,
unprotected, disrespected, and neglected. That's what he said.
Amen.
But he left one part
it,
out.
right? Who said
But
it?
he left one part out.
Malcolm
He
said that.
didn't say, he said that, but he didn't say, and it's mostly by their own.
Mm-hmm.
He left that part out.
But he's right. I mean, he's right, and what y'all are saying is right too. But as we see that, let's start to do something about it.
Exactly.
That's
Right.
all.
He also said you kill you over our women. That's what he said.
And the thing that I love about all of your roles is that no matter what you do, there's a complexity, there are layers to it. There's
Yeah.
never, it's like multi-dimensional. Like there's so much dignity that's in every single role that I've ever seen you in. So
Oh,
You know,
wow.
you know what we should do. You know, every now and then y'all don't know this, but you know, every now and then we take our show on the road. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Maybe what we should do is maybe we should do something with you all live in the city of Newark, and let's invite
get-
people around.
Get more of the
Come
cast
through, come
All
through. Now I'm down
That'd
for
be
that.
amazing.
I'm in Jersey
And
all
we
the
bring
time.
Roxanne Shante and the whole bunch of folks coming through.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, and she
Yes.
Roxanne
That'd
is
be great.
Roxanne is a friend and a family of this show. So
Okay.
That'd be great.
Oh yeah. So she's
Well, call me
Jersey
when
too.
y'all ready, because I'm always down to rep Jersey. Jersey is my still a Jersey girl at heart. I thank you guys for having me, and thank you for
you.
inviting
Y'all gotta
me.
ask her. Y'all gotta
Thank
ask her the
you.
question. She's on her way out.
yes,
Oh,
one
Okay.
question. Hip hop
Sure.
show. Who's your favorite hip hop artist, individual or group, or who you're just rocking with now
Oh
in
my
the baby
gosh.
section? So
Okay, I'm kind of like right now. I do love my girl Megan Thee Stallion.
Mm.
Come on, Meg. I do like her. But old school, I'm a Lauryn Hill girl. Like I love me
Yeah.
some Lauryn Hill, the Fugees. But in the hip hop, like on the male side, it's gotta be Biggie for me. I was little. I mean, come on,
Right.
I gotta show
That's
Right.
Big Papa. So Notorious
Big
B.I.G.,
Papa.
baby.
Yeah.
Tori's a mess. Tori's a mess.
I know.
Yeah.
Bye,
So
girl.
that's that.
Thank you,
guys so
Naturi.
much. God
Thank you.
bless. And I hope when you do come to Newark, call me because I'll come.
Okay.
Okay.
All
Definitely.
right.
All
All
right,
right.
Naturi. Stay
Thank
in
you.
touch. Okay. Bye bye.
Now, is there going to be a season 2?
We don't know yet, but I think that like I said before, it's it's on a streaming platform, which is a very interesting. It's a bit different from network television, where a show airs certain time every week. People get to tune in. You get to push people to go watch. It's sort of like you set something up and you have to wait for the people to draw to it. It's doing well. It could be better, and we're hoping that more because really people need to discover it.
Right.
Yep.
And that's a little harder to do on a streamer, especially because we had different guests, but we didn't have like, oh, this big star that's the anchor of the show and that person is pushing it in that way. So we're also hoping that things like this help to continue the conversation, but also make people aware that it even exists, and they will go on the platform, find it, watch it. We're hoping it's big for the holiday, especially like
Yes.
with families, so that they can actually experience it and continue the conversation. We've been doing screenings at HBCUs and things like that. So we're hoping for a second season. Literally, the show deserves a second season just because I feel like it's important to the culture. And it's almost like reparations. You owe us to have balance out there, you know?
Right.
That's the show I want to
Come
be.
on,
And I
Disney.
just want to say,
That's
Jonathan.
my
I just want to say,
perspective on it.
Jonathan. I think Black media is very important. I'm a person from
Yes.
media, and I'm Black. So when you said, "Hey, you saw my post about the project," and you said, "Let's get on," I wanted to try to make sure that we didn't overlook Black media, Black-owned media, because a lot of times we talk that mess, we don't do it. So we'll go on the the bigger networks, but so and Tracey was like, "Let's do it." So I appreciate all of you guys wanting to do this, because this is where folks are at. We out here for real.
Right. And Lisa, I always want to get you on the show. Like, as I said, you are a personal hero for some of the stuff that you've done.
Thank you, boo.
And we've talked about this before, right? Like, so and it seems like I can tell why you and Tracey are friends based on her answer. Y'all don't play. You have dignity. You make sure that is in what you do.
Yes.
And you will always be authentic. right?
And
So
Madam, there you just got Madam Pink Dragon's approval. So y'all.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
woo, woo.
gotta say
Wait.
thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
hey. Oh, hey, Linda.
Yes.
Wait,
Yeah.
wait,
Hi,
but
Linda.
before
Thank
we go,
you,
I
girl.
gotta do my hip hop person.
yes,
Yeah.
LL
Oh, yes.
Cool,
Oh, we
LL
I
Cool
already
J
know what
is
you're gonna
hard as
say.
hell. Rock the bells.
okay.
LL
Yes.
Cool J. I knew
You know
she
she knows
was
that's my baby daddy. You know that's my baby daddy. My eggs have been dried and powdered, but that's my baby daddy.
Yes,
That's
she
nice.
loves LL. I
Yes.
got to work with him last year.
Yes.
Lisa loves LL.
And tell them why I'm mad. Tell them why I'm mad at you, Tracy. I'm mad.
I know because she didn't come meet her baby daddy. I don't know why I didn't just have you come to the set. It was down the street. I'm so sorry. Okay, please forgive me. Please.
I might.
No, but I really appreciate you guys having us.
And
And
your
being
artist?
and allowing us. Oh, my artist. Oh God, I used to produce music videos, so I could get in a lot of trouble here.
You can just tell us who you're rocking with right now.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be all-time
so-
favorite.
Okay, no, right now I'm rocking with Nicki Minaj.
Oh,
I just love her. She's crazy, but I love her, and
she's nuts.
she's amazing. She's talented. She's talented with the pen, and she doesn't always have to talk about her private parts, and I like
Right.
that. Because I'm a little
Over it.
with that as an older person. I love Future. I like Drake. And Nas probably would be one of my all-time favorites. I like Jay-Z too, but definitely, and I'm a huge Flavor Flav fan.
Okay.
Flavor Flav. Flavor Flav.
Yes, and of course, I love Outkast and Goody Mob and T.I. because I have to represent the ATL.
Atlanta.
Okay. And
Well, I
if
gotta
you
throw
haven't-
Queen Latifah in there. UNITY. That's
Yes,
unity.
Newark.
UNITY.
Yes, Latifah's beautiful.
Yes.
It's so many great. Look, it's the 50th year anniversary of
Yes.
hip hop.
Yeah.
I did a series that was on A&E this summer called Hip Hop Treasures, and it was just so beautiful. And I just finished wrapping a documentary on women in hip hop.
Nice.
So I am
I'm
absolutely
going to do something on domestic violence in hip hop. Keep talking.
Yep.
Very interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting world. This the documentary will air sometime next year, but we really do we don't get into domestic violence, but we do get into the big stories like misogyny and pay gap, and all of those types of things, and like looking at the pioneers, the disruptors, like it's different. It's not like, oh, this person had a #1 album, but it really is about being a woman in this country during all of these moments in time, and then also navigating your way through this art form of hip hop, which is it's still, well, I mean, right now the women are leading the charge, but it is very male dominated. And we felt like that was an important story to share.
Absolutely. I would throw out two names. I would throw out Rhapsody and No Name.
Yeah, Rhapsody.
Rhapsody's great.
Rhapsody had an album called Eve that got snubbed, and I'm like, people ignored it, pretended it didn't exist. No Name, people would pretend that she don't exist, and it's like,
I agree.
The thing about to be a Black woman in hip hop, you have to be a certain way in order to get recognized. Because like No Name's new album and Rhapsody's the last album, some of the most brilliant works in hip hop I've ever heard.
I agree. Yeah, I think we talked about Rhapsody on your other show, because I was like, I think that's one of the most, like, how people will say like the rapper AZ is, super, super talented, but people like, he's not a household name,
right?
But his gift, and I think Rhapsody fits into that.
She's
space.
Amazing,
because it was kind of like there were all the female rappers had fallen off. Then there was Nicki Minaj, and Rhapsody came along, and because she wasn't as loud and dramatic as Nicki, it's sort of like, who is she? What is she? Oh, that's too conscious. That's too, so.
Yeah, that album she did, Eve, was each song dedicated to a different Black woman. And I thought that was going to be like big.
I love Rhapsody.
Right.
Yeah.
But ignore it. But
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I love the projects that you're doing.
I appreciate that.
Can I do a shameless plug?
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Well, y'all know I went to school for journalism. I know I don't act like it because my mother would be embarrassed, but I do have a degree in journalism. And so for the first time ever, I did an actual hard news piece.
Okay.
It's called
Yes.
Memoir of Murder. It's going to be on ABC News 2020. Yes, coming out in November. I covered the James Ray trial. Thank you, boo. I covered the James Ray trial. That was actually, they had cameras in the courtroom that just happened, it ended this summer. So it's going to be a 2-hour documentary special. So
nice.
I'm one of the producers, and guess what? Give me a drum roll, please. Drum roll.
What?
I'm keeping that camera hot in front of the camera too. Oh my God. Oh my. I'm on Barbara Walters and everything, and on Oprah and everything, and I'm all like pimped up, and I got my black shirt on. Listen. Here's the thing, and I'm doing real journalism. Clap for that. Here's the thing. I'll say this really quickly. That's the problem, the nuance. Lisa Durden, I do my little reckless talking, but people only want to see me as that. Well, when Steve Harvey stands up on stage and he curses and drops F-bombs, well, they still hire him to be the comedian for the gospel brunch.
Right.
Because he knows the difference between I'm talking at the gospel brunch versus here. Right. He knows, I know when not to, well, I don't really curse a lot on TV, but I know the difference between when I'm debating someone or when I'm being interviewed now, or when I'm being a news person just sharing my point of view in that way. But that's the thing, is they think you're a one-note wonder. So I'm so glad this woman gave me the chance to show her that I can do that. So now people will see I'm not always Right. I have a degree. Now, because the unfortunate thing is, when I got out of college, I didn't get the opportunities to do that. Social media gave me some form of a career. I like it, but that's not all there is. Right. But Black men can be nuanced, can't they? So I'm so glad I'm going to show the nuance. Oh, I'm killing it. I'll let you know in November. In November, y'all.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And one last thing is that definitely I would say being at the table, besides the wine, we shoot the show very early, like we shoot the show early, like at like, and you know that all the wines are Black-owned vineyards, right?
Nice.
Yes.
All the wines on the series are Black-owned vineyards. Yep. And because there's only 8 Black-owned vineyards in this country.
Okay.
So we were able to feature 6 of them. So definitely check that out too when he talks.
Absolutely.
About wines. Those are all Black-owned vineyards. But I will say, well, besides the fact that it's early and you start to drink, you of course you're loose, so you feel safe. But I will say that once you're at that table, you do feel like this, like you forget the cameras are there. They're on the wall anyway, so you don't see them. But you really do feel like this is a safe space because you're with your people, you're with your tribe.
Exactly.
And we purposely did that, but we also wanted people to know that they could trust us. Exactly. So if they felt like, oh, I don't want this out there, fortunately, no one actually has to say that. But we really did make it a safe space. It's a 3-course meal. It's pre-drinks, the 3-course meal. So exactly how you see it, that's exactly how it happened for each table. Each setting, and we only shot one show, a day, but it definitely, everyone felt safe and we wanted them to feel that way. And I was happy that no one felt like I said something that I don't want people to know.
Right. And I'll say this really quickly to your point. There were 1 or 2 moments where, as the supervising story producer, I'm looking at the footage and it may be something, I don't remember anything. It was something small. I said, I don't think that Elaine meant it that way, so I'm just going to cut that out. Nothing crazy, because it could be something so small that's not anything. So it's nothing like there was hiding things. So I think that that's a part of being able to produce something like this, because you had the power. That's the point that Tracey's saying. When you have people of color telling their own stories, that's the point now, isn't it? So when you have white people telling your stories, who knows how it ends up? They can. Even when I was on Chasing News, there were times on Chasing News when they wanted you to sit on the table and talk comfortably, and I would watch the show that night when it comes on. I'm like, they cut that a certain way. So I didn't feel comfortable anymore. I began talking in talking points. So that no matter how you cut the shit is good. So because I didn't feel comfortable that you were going to really cut it the way I meant it. So in this case, that did not happen, because you can easily cut something in such a way that it comes up out in a certain way. You know what I mean? So that's what telling your own story means when you're a person of color. And we're talking about, let us tell our own stories. So I've been on the other side of that, like nothing crazy, but I'm like, I didn't mean that about Kevin Hart when he used the F word, didn't agree. I didn't mean it that way. They cut it so that it can look, like you're not a liberal. So that's what I thought was good too, that we had African-American people, Black people behind the scenes, in front of the camera and behind the camera as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say the story was told with love, right?
Correct.
Like I didn't understand when you said you were a story producer, like when you gave the title, I didn't understand what that was, right? Like even when I looked at it, I didn't fully get it. When you talked about it, I was like, ooh, like thank you, because the stories were smooth.
Yeah,
the stories were edited. There was a sense of love that exuded the watching. I knew that. I didn't know I couldn't tell there were two white executive producers or two white producers, right? Because it was very Black, and it was imbued with a lot of Black love, right?
Yeah. And that's what happens when people hire us for our voices and not our faces.
Right.
Exactly. And Tracey meant to do that. And the thing about me is I actually love talk. So I'm like, Tracey, you're calling me for a job to work on a show that's about talk, and I watch it for a living. So luckily for me, I do watch talk as my brand of entertainment. I watch all the talk shows. So I'm like, this is gonna be great. So when I'm watching the footage, it was not burdensome. And so I was able to really put my whole soul into it, because it's actually what I love in general, period. But now that it's Black, I'm really feeling like I want to be a part of something that I can help shape in that way as well. So take my hands up, clap for Tracey, because Tracey was pushed to get me this position. Tracey and I've been on each other since 2012, and she really wanted me to get this opportunity. She wants Black people to get opportunities, and I pick on her all the time. And I'm like, Tracey, girl, you out here.
That's what we got to do.
Promoting. I gotta pick on Tracey. Tracey's out here on her page promoting. Get a meeting with Tracey Baker-Simmons once a month for an hour. I'm like, girl, are you doing this for real? And I'm going to talk with you on Zoom. I'm like, I got to get myself together. I'll give you information, but we ain't talking on Zoom once a month. I'm just not. And I like to talk. So she means to bring people up for real.
And that is amazing, right? And that is part of being that veteran, right? And I appreciate that, because as I said, that it showed in the end result, which was all about love. And I appreciate both of you. I appreciate.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
I
know, right?
I was just wondering if I could share something with you ladies before you go that was shared with us. When we had Baba James Smalls on, one of the things he shared with us, he was talking to the congressman when he was on, because the congressman kept using this term called people of color. And Baba James had shared with us that we ought to stop that, because he said that we keep saying people of color. What happens is that it put Black people at the back of the line. So when they start talking about people of color, they don't talk about Black people when they're looking for people of color. They say, oh, since y'all say people of color, we want those people, not those people, because y'all said people of color. But if y'all say Black people, Baba was saying that it would mean us first.
It's very clear.
Let me tell you, I know we have to go, but I have to tell you.
Get into it, girl. Get into it.
Very correct. I was recently, I'm not going to say, but I'm going to say, I encountered that where I said, what are Black people?
Yeah.
And they said, no, we have people of color.
Right.
There's an Asian, there's a this is that. I said, what?
Everybody but the Black.
I said, wait a minute.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, and lesson learned.
Make sure you get every color, goddammit.
I will, from this day forward, be very specific and clear on my projects. Okay, I want y'all to hear Black folks. Because obviously it could get confusing. Right. And I'm sorry, and no disrespect to any other culture or any other race of people. Yeah. But what I do know is sometimes people, just because you don't hire, it doesn't mean racist means you're hating people for no reason. Prejudice is I prefer.
Mhm.
And I understand that, and it is, and you know what was the favorite word you said, Lisa? The bias, unconscious bias.
Mhm.
So basically, I don't have an unconscious bias toward any race of people, but what I do know is when I am positioned to open the door or be in the room, that I need to help shepherd my folks because
Yep.
folks ain't thinking about my folks.
They
Okay.
are not.
And that's it. And I'm sorry, but that's what I'm doing. And then I'm think about
Not enough of us do that.
And I would say that there's what I'm finding is that multicultural anti-blackness is very real.
Exactly.
Right. It's very real.
Period.
Liberals.
Right. Or people of color that excuse. There have been studies that have been done on it. Even Elizabeth Warren, back in 2016,
get checked on
specifically saying if you don't have policies that are specifically for Black people, they will be left out.
Yep.
Right?
Because minority. Think about minority. What does that mean now? That just doesn't mean us.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right. I think
Absolutely.
that's what Baba was trying to help us with, right? He was saying, be careful using that term because it ends up
I agree.
the line.
I agree. That was a good story, Tracey, too.
We ought to be careful how we say that, and particularly those of us that have. And as the mayor was saying before you all, he said the real struggle is for power, right?
Yep.
That's the real struggle. So if you a producer and you got the ability to make a decision on who's at that table, specific and say you want Black women, right? Because if not, it'll be other women at that table and they'll say, "Oh well."
I think Sugar was an excellent representation of that.
Yep.
All those women direct. That was a powerful expression.
Yep. It was an excellent show.
Distribution
Excellent
of
series.
power, calling your own shots.
It was until the last.
So Tracey, I say to you, I know you sister, but I want to say I congratulate
you. Minority. You see how that happens. At first, it started out it was Black women. Then it became
okay, yeah, all right.
Then they became prioritizing women as minority, and it shifted. So I'm just saying, stay woke.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And thank you so much. Real honor to have
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Lisa, thank you.
Good to see you, Lisa. I gotta give you some new glasses. You're killing it.
Very nice to meet you.
Yeah, definitely. And look, I love to. I am a member. Last shameless plug, but I am a member of a group called ECHO, which is an entertainment consortium, a group of media executives that work directly with. We basically have a connection and we speak through to the White House and understand policy and information that needs to be, shared. And we try to share it through our work. And we know we have a lot of work to do next year. And I know you guys are about politics. So please reach out because I'd love to get some of the individuals in that group on here and us talking about sharing and sort of just helping to disseminate information with a huge, election coming up next year.
Absolutely.
And I'll share her cell number with you, Jonathan, as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. But thank you again for having us, and definitely please keep promoting the conversation.
Sorry I missed you, ladies.
I know, Atiya. Atiya, no, you didn't. Where was you at, Atiya?
I was trying to get in. I was at the door.
No, I don't want to hear.
It was my fault. That was my fault.
Wait, here's my nails. My long nails. I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear. See, it's my long nails.
Yes.
No, I'm picking on you. No, I understand.
No, listen, you ladies look so beautiful.
Thank you so
I'm pretty sure you guys were talking about something that I need to know about, so I'm gonna have to circle back.
Yes,
watch
the video.
Just come back to us on Facebook and YouTube. We right there.
Yes,
absolutely.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you for having
Thank
us.
you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
Beautiful.
Bye.
This was awesome. Right, this was awesome and just a lot of fun. So that's the Conversations Project. It's on HULU. And all of them are involved with it. It's a beautiful talk show, one of my favorites. So definitely check it out. And we are very honored to have, and I've been trying to get you on the show for a while because I've been following on Facebook and all the time you're talking about insurance.
Yes.
And you're talking about life insurance. And you're talking
Yes.
about life insurance in Black people. And you said basically, like, I'm tired of these GoFundMes for funerals.
Very
Like
tight.
every time someone dies, they got to be GoFundMe because they ain't got
Others
no
going
money.
out of here killing and dying and
Right.
not
And
leaving.
nobody got no insurance.
Oh my God.
So
Yes, it is. It
I
is.
got
It is
stories.
an
I smoked this nigga,
So,
but
well, there are two things I want to plug. Right. There are two things. Wow. There are two things I want to plug about
Okay.
you. First, that you have your own company
Yes.
and you have your own life insurance company. And
agency. Yes.
you have your life insurance agency, right? You have
Yes.
your own life insurance agency, independent, right?
Yes.
And on top of that, you run a master class
Yes.
in how to actually sell insurance,
Yes.
and you mentor people,
Yes.
and you bring people on. And I'm just looking. I hooked someone up. They made $24,000 last month. Oh yeah, and so I just wanted to get you on to talk about some of what you do in
Okay.
both selling life insurance, the importance of it, right?
Okay.
And also in the
Those habits, though.
mentoring and training that you do, because you've made a lot of people a lot of money, right? And I think both of those are stories. So welcome,
Yes.
welcome. What's up with this life insurance,
Thank
and
you.
how can we get paid?
All right. Well, first off, I want to thank you for inviting me. It's truly a pleasure to sit here. Oh, okay, it's just me. Look, okay, I like to engage, but
No, we're here too. We're
Right.
listening to you. We're listening.
I need
to you
to see y'all beautiful faces. Okay. So yes, so my name is Atiya Bell. I am a life insurance broker. Okay, just a little backstory on me. I actually started on Wall Street. I started on Wall Street at 21 years old as a licensed Series 7 and 63 stockbroker. Okay, I was a stockbroker for a couple of years. I've ultimately worked in sales for. I'm 38, so this is about 20 years now that I've been in some form of sales all my life, even going back to a child, Girl Scout cookies, cotillion fundraisers. I have always been in sales, right? And I tell people, try to focus less on the word sales and more on education, okay? Because that's really what it is. I'm just out here educating people so that they can make the best decision for themselves, okay? But when it comes down to life insurance, I have been in the business for 6 years. I originally started off at a captive company. I was their #1 life insurance agent in the state of New Jersey for several years, okay?
Wow, so you've only been doing life insurance for 6 years.
6 years this March.
Wow, congratulations.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I hit the ground running, okay? I did have some past experience, but the main reason why a lot of people want to know, they're like, what made you stop wanting to be a stockbroker and going into life insurance? Well, one is a guarantee and one is not. Okay? When it comes down to working on Wall Street or working in any capacity with the stock market, we all know that you're taking a gamble, right? The market is trained to go up and it is trained to go down with lots of fluctuations in between. So one thing is a lot of people in my community, we don't really know anything about the stock market, right? So I did enjoy working with people, but most of my clients were from the UK, just off the record, okay? All of my clients were from the UK, so I didn't do a lot of business in the United States, although I was selling United States companies, right? I was talking about Apple stock way before they even had a cell phone, okay? So that was way back in 2007. But the point is, what I've learned from being in the stock market is that people do have extra money, right, outside of their bills, and people do have the want and the need and the desire for more assets and more education on how they can leave their family legacies financially, as well as, to avoid leaving debt, okay? Because when you die, there is a bill. Okay, a lot of people forget about that. So when it comes down to life insurance, I'm in an industry where there's no way of getting around it.
Right.
Okay. Unless you live in La La Land and you believe that life insurance is something that you don't need because you're immortal. Okay. I can't deal with those type of people because they live in a different thought process than I do. But when it comes down to life insurance, it is something that everyone needs because we are all going to die. Right. Hopefully that date comes later and not sooner, but it's best to prepare for it because we know it's inevitable. Okay. Right. So far too many people in our community, there was a time right? Where all of our grandparents had life insurance and they got policies on all the kids, right? Everybody in the family had life insurance, okay? But that has long stopped, okay? Big Mama is no longer here, and the policies that she was paying lapsed, and people no longer feel the need to get them because they're not dying, right? Or they're not ill. So they feel as if they have forever to get life insurance. People forget that there are two major factors when it comes down to getting life insurance, and that's age and health. The younger you are, the cheaper it is. The healthier you are, the cheaper it is. So getting a policy when you're 20, 25, 30 years old is ideal. Waiting until you're 50, 60, 70 years old, does that mean you can't get covered? No. That just means you may not be able to get the amount of coverage that you're looking for, right? So there's several different reasons why people get life insurance. One of the main reasons, first and foremost, is to cover funeral expenses.
Right.
Okay. Some people want to leave behind a legacy for children or grandchildren financially. Some people want to pay off their mortgage or their assets or things that are involved with their business. Okay. So there's lots of different things that I cover. There are different types of life insurance policies. Okay. A lot of people don't realize that there are different types. You have your whole life, which is permanent options. Okay. That's how you get your cash value that you can borrow from.
All right. So you're just for the sake of the audience that
Yes.
might not know anything about insurance, can you just
Yes.
slow down on the first type?
Okay.
It's called what type of insurance?
Okay, so first let me talk about the one that is the most popular, which is term. Okay, most of the time you see these commercials where they say, you know, you can get $1 million of coverage for $1 a day. And
Wow.
there's something in your brain that's like, that sounds a little
Not true, right?
Right? And it's not as if it's not true. It's just that the fine print is not explained to us. Okay? So the majority of the people that I've run into that look like me, they're very confident about these term policies that are temporary policies.
What does that mean? Like, I mean, I have it, I paid for it.
Yes.
But
so when I say temporary, I mean these policies typically are for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, or until a certain age. So, do they expire? The answer is yes. Okay.
So a term life,
yes,
is I buy life insurance, but for only 10 years. But if I live, I get nothing.
There you go. In most cases. Now, there are some term policies that give you return of your investment, ROIs. Okay. So you are able to get some of your premiums back. However, most term policies don't work like that. So you will start off, hypothetically, I could give you $200,000 in term policy, 30-year term. Starts off at $40 a month. You're excited. Right? You're like, listen, I got a 10-year-old, I have a 15-year-old. Right. If something were to happen to me, I know that $200,000 is going to be paid to my family. You're right. Okay. However, what happens when that 20-year term expires? Typically lights on fire. Okay. And all of that money that you've been putting in most cases of most term policies, you lose that money. Meaning if you don't use it, you lose it.
So a term policy is kind of like rent.
There you go. It's not yours.
No. Yeah.
That's why you can't borrow money from it. That's why they don't build interest and dividends. Okay. So if you notice in our community, a lot of people are going to have term. Why? Because their eyes see the price and they don't think about the long term. So you'll have a lot of people that are in their 60s and 70s and 80s that come to me looking for coverage. And their thing is, I've been paying on a policy for 30 years and it just expired. Rather than, right? Now, term policies are cheaper, right? So that's why they're more attractive. If someone says, I can give you $500,000 of coverage for $40, you want it. Until someone like me explains to you the difference between a term policy and a whole life policy. Okay. Now, a whole life policy is a permanent option. It costs more than term. So when given the option of costing more and getting less coverage, or costing less and getting more coverage, people want the easy way out. Okay. So the same $50 that might get you $250,000 worth of coverage would only get someone who's 50 years old $20,000 in whole life. But the difference is it's not going to expire. You're going to be able to build on your cash value, borrowing power. The company typically gives you around 5% interest a year, which is 5 times as much as you get as leaving your money in the bank.
Right.
Okay. And then what you really get is no expiration date. So the best way to couple it for anyone who's thinking, okay, T, I got a term policy. Are you telling me to cancel it? No. I'm telling you to protect yourself with a permanent option. Okay. So keep the term policy that you have as your just in case, right? That's your what if factor. Okay, T, I'm only paying $30 for this one. Cool. You're 30 years old. When you're 60, do you think you're still going to be around? Well, more than likely. Okay. So let's plan for that.
Right.
Right. So the average cost of a funeral right now is between $10,000 to $15,000 nationwide. Okay. However, most people forget about inflation.
Right.
So on funerals, inflation goes up at 4% every single year. What that means is the next 30 years, funerals are going to cost about 25 to 30 grand. So if you are focused on now, you will be like most senior citizens that later in life end up with no coverage. And that is exactly what happens in our community. People get term policies when they're younger.
Right.
They expire. And now they're older looking for coverage. And most companies, if you're just with an age, with a regular captive company, they only have one option for you, which means you might get declined if you have high blood pressure, diabetes, overweight, cancer, heart attack, stroke. You might be a decline. Now,
which is so many of us at a particular age, right?
And in our community, certain things run through us, right? So I am a broker, which means that I do not work for one individual company. Okay. I have contracts and I have access to up to 80 carriers.
A number of places, yeah.
Yes. So I have contracts excuse my dog's running around like maniacs. Of course, of course they want to do that now. But I have contracts with lots of different carriers: Aflac, Aetna, Mutual of Omaha, AIG, which is now Corebridge, John Hancock, Gerber. I have contracts to work on behalf of my clients. So if someone comes to me and said, "Hey, T, I have AIDS," go to bed. Sorry. If someone comes to me and they say, "Hey, I have AIDS, cancer, I just had a heart attack," right? My mom is on drugs. My dad is an alcoholic. My sister is 600 pounds. My ex-boyfriend is in prison. Can you cover them? The answer is yes. Okay. Anyone under the age of 80, there is absolutely not one instance that you can come up with that I can't find a carrier to cover you under the age of 80, even children.
Wow.
I know.
And so the power of that, right? Term life you wouldn't get, because it just they make money off of the long game, right? Like they make money off of you're going to outlive this policy. And
insurance companies get over because you've paid for 20, 30 years. And then guess what? Thank you. Appreciate your money. Right. Now go find something else. And now, whereas when you were younger, you could have gotten a larger whole life policy. Guess what? If you have a combination of certain factors, now you can only get 10, 20,000. And a lot of people don't like that. So there's lots of different ways to cover yourself. The 2 most important ways are term life insurance, which is a temporary policy, which is ideal for parents with children under the age of being able to take care of yourself, right? If you still got kids that's 19.
Oh, okay. So really what you're saying is that term life is only for you to insure your kids who you are going to assume are going to
insure yourself for the purpose of if there's a tragedy, your kids are taken care of. So if I don't have any children, right? If I had a 10-year-old and a 5-year-old, I would want $500,000 of coverage. I wouldn't want to pay for $500,000 in whole life because that would be a couple $100s a month. But I could get $500,000 in term for the next 10, 20 years. And if by the time my children are out of college, I decide I don't want to keep it, I don't have to.
No harm, no foul.
Right. But if something happens to me and I got a 10 and a 5-year-old without a mom, now there's a $500,000 balloon payment coming that I didn't really have to pay for.
Right.
So I won over the insurance company.
Oh,
there's also another way to look at that. So Let me just say, for full disclosure, I worked for American Express for 10 years.
Nice. Okay.
So I do have a life insurance license. I do have a 63. I do have a 66, and I do have a 7 as well.
Good. Okay. Nice.
So the other way to look at that is that obviously if you own property, right, and you got a family. So if you're a young man and you got a house that's, let's say,
I was going to say for your
$600,000,
mortgage.
$100,000, right? God forbid something happens to you, right? The way I would always tell my clients when they came in, listen, what you want to do is do a mixture, right?
Yep.
So obviously you take the term to cover your mortgage, right? So if something happens,
mortgage and kids
for your parents,
yes,
quality of life for your children and your family is not going to be lost, right?
Right.
They get to keep the house, they get to keep the car, they pay off all of their credit, all of that.
Yes.
Right. So now nothing happens. Your wife now, she's debt free. She owns the house, and now you also got another policy, which is a whole life policy,
Yep.
right? So now your whole life policy is going to pay off as well, right?
Exactly.
So now she got money, she can go on, because normally what happens is when people die, you need money, right?
You have about 3 to 5 years to recover from the loss of a breadwinner,
right? So you need money, right?
Yes.
So what those policies do is that it guarantees a quality of life continuation for your family. And
100%.
and I would always ask Tia, I would always say to them, well, is that important to you?
Yes.
Right. And then if they said yes to me, then the rest of the sell was easy, right? Because
exactly.
Right.
Meaning, again, it's not a sale. You've educated them on what their options are, and now they're there to make their decisions. So, like I like to tell people, term is for assets, mortgages, and taking care of your kids, right? And it's like, a backup. If you want a lot of coverage, cool. You're not going to have to pay a whole lot of money for it. Great. But your whole life policy is your permanent option that you want to have to take care of all things that can possibly happen after that term expires. Also, here's a major thing where a lot of people forget. Term policies typically start off at a very low price. By the time you get to the end of your term, it could cost $2,000 a month to keep that policy that you had for $40.
Right. It's called, there's a term called increasing and decreasing, right? So they do two things. You can buy an increasing term, you can do a decreasing term, right? Yep. And so, and the other way you can talk about.
At the end of the term, is that what y'all been saying? Y'all talking about something at the end of a term of life insurance? Is that what you mean?
Well, yeah, by the end of a term, let's say it's a 20-year term.
Right.
There are different options, like he said, increasing or decreasing. But what I'm speaking about is the most general that I see with most people. They get the term policies that are very cheap, and they never look at page 3 or page 6 where it says, at this age, this is how much it's actually going to cost. Wow. So in reality, before it even expires, you can't afford it. Wow. So that's why it's very important to sit down with someone who knows what they're talking about. Otherwise, they're going to shove term down your throat. They're going to shove whole life down your throat without even looking at what you need at the time and what's going to fit into your fixed income budget when you're a senior citizen.
So is it true historically? Like, because the way you're describing it, it sounds like there might have been a lot of white insurance brokers that ripped off our community. In terms of that, like,
let me address that.
Was that a thing?
Let me address that. The answer is yes. Okay. The answer is yes. Also, we did it to ourselves, and let me explain why. A lot of us are not honest on our life insurance applications. And if you are not honest on your application and there is a death within a contestability time frame, that is why Big Mama's policy didn't get paid out. Because diabetes wasn't on there. That's why Pop Pops didn't get paid out, because he lied and said he wasn't a smoker, or he lied and said he wasn't a drinker. And he may have been approved standard, which gave a certain amount of time frame for them to contest it. So a lot of times when people say to me, they're like, "Oh, life insurance companies are a scam." I said, "Well, why didn't your family sue the company?" The reason why is because they couldn't. The reason why they couldn't sue the company is because there was something that wasn't right with that application, or the life insurance agent wrote it up incorrectly, right?
However, though, there is something called the 2-year contestability clause.
That's what I just said.
Yep.
Right. So So if they don't do that within 2 years, and normally what insurance brokers or insurance agents would do is, in the Black community, if they were selling them policy, they would say, hey, look, man, if I'm being honest with you, you're not going to, you don't tell me that. So if I write this policy and if you die within that 2-year period, there's a chance this might not pay that final expense for you. However, if you live past 2 years, you good to go, homie. Right? But know that, because
the thing is, we think we're looking each other out by telling each other that, but you're not.
Get that low rate. No, you're not. But you're going to get that low rate, right?
Yeah.
That's like people who smoke, right? When you tell them there's a difference between the price for smokers and non-smokers, they say, hey, man, give me the lower price, man.
Yeah.
And you just have to tell them the truth.
And by the way, I totally forgot, like, Ed has had a lot of lives in terms of what he's done. He's been a professional boxer. Seriously, he's been a professional. He qualified for the Olympics, like real professional boxer, right? And for a while, he also he worked for American Express, did the whole insurance thing. Now he's a lawyer, right? So when I brought you on the show, I totally forgot, right? Like, so I absolutely forgot that he had an entire 10-year period of time of selling life insurance. I forgot about that until just now. So I just want you to know.
It's good to have it's positive reinforcement, because at least the things that I'm stating, he's able to realize, even some of the things that I haven't gotten to, like I said, there's certain reasons why you get term, certain reasons why you have whole life. And there's one more thing that I want to touch on before I get kicked off, right? This is major in the Black community, okay? Right. Major. I don't need life insurance because I have a policy through my job.
Oh, interesting.
Let me explain something, okay? I have had people argue me all the way down under the table that the policy that they have is going to last them throughout life. The answer 99% of the time is that you are either going to lose that entire policy when you retire, or typically up to half of it, or you may even only walk away with 10%. Ooh. I've seen it happen to police officers, firefighters. I have
teachers. How about teachers? I want to know about teachers.
Teachers too. Teachers do not walk away with 100% of their whole life policy. I work with a teachers union right now in Newark, and I am telling you for a fact, a lot of people don't know that. I've had teachers retire, and they're like, I only got 30% of what I had. That's not even enough to bury me because I started 40 years ago.
Right. Now, and I actually have 2 life insurance policies. What should they do? No, I'm asking right now. I have 2 life insurance policies. I have one that's through work, and I have one that I sold. I bought through someone who came to my job. They take it out of my check, but it's separate from the one I would get from just working there, right? Am I okay? I believe they're both whole.
Well, one, that depends on how much. When you ask me, are you okay? That depends on what it is that you want to cover and what you need it for. However, it does sound as if you have a policy that you own and control that is outside of what is given to you by your employer. Okay. Right. So if something happens while you're still working, right? Because you're young, you're not retired yet. If something happens, you'll get both. Right. But however, when you retire, the amount of coverage that you have through your teachers union or whatever that is going to significantly decrease. So what's going to be your backup is the policy that you've been paying on, that you own and you control. And if it's a whole life policy, that means you locked yourself into a price at the age that you got it. So you
I think I got it at 22 when I didn't realize. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I got it at 22.
Oh, good.
Like 23. Like when I first started teaching in that first year, this really nice Black woman came in and was like, "You need insurance." And
I love her. Yes.
I was like, "Okay, maybe let's talk." And she was like, "I was like, don't I get insurance through work?" And she was like, "You need this extra insurance.
Yes.
You can't really get this when you're older, and when you leave your job or you quit or you do something else, you still need insurance."
Yes.
And I was like,
and Jonathan, when she says you, what she really means, your beneficiary, right?
Yes.
She's not you, right? She
Right.
means that those folks who are going to have to cover your final expenses. So policies are never for you; they're actually for your beneficiaries, for
Exactly.
your family members, right? And so that's the conversation also, Atiya, that we need to have with Black people, right?
Yes.
Because for some reason, Black people get the notion, well, I'm dead. You know what I mean? It don't matter, right?
Yeah,
But
that's a big
remember,
mistake.
you can't bury yourself, right? And you can't cover all of the, because when you die, you got a life, right? So somebody has to shut your life down.
Exactly.
And setting that life down is going to cost money, especially if you own property, right?
Yes.
Somebody's got to pay the cost of all of those final expenses that you got. So these kind of conversations that she's talking about are important for us to have as a Black community, right? This sister is important.
I go even further, but finish your point, Ed.
This sister is important, right? Because remember, for the most part, Black people don't want to have those kind of conversations, but she is absolutely a godsend to Black people, because those are the conversations that we need to be having, right? Because like she said when she started off, a GoFundMe is not an insurance policy.
It's not. And importantly, just to piggyback on again and again, Ed, I love having you here because that positive reinforcement really helps. You know, I am trying to stop a wave of debt that's on the way. Okay. Again, I'm 38 years old. A lot of the people that I work with, a lot of the people that I'm friends with, they are in that mindset of, I don't need coverage because I have it through my employer. Now is the time for you to wake up and realize that getting a policy at 30, 35 years old, like Jonathan did, which was genius, and locking yourself in, like let's say you get $100,000 $100,000 and you're paying $100 a month because of your age. You can't even get that same $100,000 in whole life at an older age, depending on what your health status is. It's not even an option to get more than final expense.
Let me tell you, she could get 100,000 policies written tomorrow if Black people would just go into their job Monday morning and ask this question.
They won't do it.
No, here's the question that they should ask. They should walk in, right, and just ask the question: is my policy portable?
Yeah.
And when you find out it's not portable, call her.
Yes.
And portable means
portable means can you take it with you if they fire you, if you quit, if you walk away, is it portable? All those years you paid into it because you're part of a group, right? So you're paying a group rate, right? You're paying that group rate. So if it's not portable, and a lot of people work at the post office, got great insurance, but what happens is when they leave, they don't leave with that full amount, and most of the time it's not even portable. So you leave and you think you got insurance, and she told you at the beginning, insurance is based on two things: age and health. You're not as healthy as you were when you were 20.
Yeah.
You're now 60.
So then I have 80-year-olds who are arguing with me, and they're like, I don't understand why $20,000 of coverage is over $50 a month. Well, because you are 10 years past life expectancy, which is on file as 70. Right. So, you know, just to wrap up, because I see you have another gentleman here. I don't know how long my time is.
And I definitely want to go into the, like, you teach just briefly, because again, we want to have you back, right?
I would love to.
But you teach a master class
my life insurance
on it, right? I mean, I've been looking at the post, and you teach well, you mentor people.
Yes,
doing it. Can you tell us briefly about this? And this is DJ Rhino. This is our DJ.
Hey, DJ.
Part of our show.
Okay. Yes, I love it. Okay. Right. All right. So, of course, we all know that I sell life insurance, right? I have a life insurance agency under a brokerage firm. I have 120 brokers in my downline. Okay. I manage every single last person. I trained myself. I have an amazing back office team. We have boot camp carrier training to make sure that everyone knows which carrier to go to and why for your client, because you're always working on their behalf, not on the behalf of your pockets, right? But I do teach a class. What I do is I take someone who is not licensed at all, or someone who is recently licensed, or someone who has been in the industry for some time, but just never got the correct training or guidance that they needed, which happens most of the time, Okay. A lot of these brokerage firms and agencies, they bring people on, they recruit people, but they don't train properly. Okay. So you'll see these big name people. Oh, you should sell with my company. Great. But then you get in there, you get these contracts and you're looking around like, who's going to handhold me? Who's going to show me what to do? So I saw the need for that. I've been training people for years. I started off training at my last captive company. And then I, of course, started my consulting business, which is Insure Me T Academy. And that's where people from lots of different agencies as well as companies started to realize that I'm really good at one particular thing, right? One, I'm extremely relatable. I'm down to earth. However, I've created a script. If anybody is interested in seeing, well, I know this girl says that she's good. I know Jonathan says that she's good, but you want to see some receipts. All you have to do is go to Facebook and type in the hashtag it's the script baby, ITSTHESCRIPTBABY. When you go there, you will see how many people are using my script from different companies. You'll see people that are posting their numbers. I was able to write this. I was able to make this because I'm using Atiya's training model. So I'll take someone, right? I'll put them in my course, which is typically 2 weeks to a month. Yes, you have to pay for it. 2 weeks to a month, you come into my course. I show you everything from how to do presentations with my scripts, how to get rebuttals, how to do presentations with leads, how to do group presentations. Where do you get referrals from? Okay. How to door knock, how to call random strangers on the telephone. Okay. I also help people promote and brand themselves, right? Marketing is very huge. And I loosen people up by building their confidence and making them more knowledgeable on the products and why we do what we do. I tell people all the time, you don't have to worry or say, I want to make $20,000 a month. Don't say that. Just say, I want to help 20 to 30 people a month. That's going to result in $20,000 a month. Okay, so if you go in it with good intentions, you write solid policies. You're not looking to oversell people. You want to give people what they can have that fits into their budget. Otherwise, people lapse the policy. So if you're in this business to make money, you're going to oversell people. They're going to then get pissed with you because the policy is too expensive. It doesn't fit in their budget. They're going to lapse it. They won't have coverage, and you won't have the reputation that I have. Okay. So what's very important is when it comes down to my course, I take anyone, whether or not you know nothing about life insurance or you've been in this game for 10 years and your thing is, you know, my max has always been $10,000. Okay. Well, I can show you how to open up your mind past whatever you've already learned and show you how to get some more money. You know, that's the most important thing, how to help more people. I do festivals. I talk to people at different vending events. I just put myself everywhere so that I end up in front of complete strangers on a regular basis because me spreading the word and my reputation of other people spreading the word is exactly how you grow your business. So that's what I train people to do. Grow your business by doing the right thing.
We're going to have you back because I have a ton of questions to ask you.
Yes.
Hopefully you're willing to come back.
I will.
Absolute. Great. So we're going to schedule it. We're going to make it.
Yes.
So we can have more of this conversation. You really help a lot of people. You help a lot of people both getting insurance and you also help a lot of people financially.
Thank you.
Don't forget the ritual question, Jonathan.
Yes.
All right. And did Rhino, you want to ask the question?
Okay. Well, being that this is a political hip hop show, we also like to ask our guests, especially if they were the first time here, who do you listen to that's in hip hop that keeps you going in what you do today? Is there anybody that's inspirational in hip hop that keeps you going?
Well, I would say J. Cole is inspirational. I say that because he's a very down-to-earth person. Money is not going to change this man. You know, he has a goal of trying to uplift the community. He also keeps it real while talking about his own experience. Now, I'm not a huge fan of any particular rapper. I mean, I listen to it, right, from time to time. But when it comes down to when I listen to his music, do I feel something? That's J. Cole, for sure.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what's up.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes.
We're going to have you back.
Yes.
And a real pleasure to meet you.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. I hope to see you again. Have a good night, guys.
Good night.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. So, Rhino, what's up, man?
What's good? What's good? Y'all can hear me, right?
We can hear you well.
All right. Don't have a whole lot of time. I'm just going to run through a couple of things. You know, Lauryn Hill was in town. She was back at the home front here in Jersey.
One question. My Facebook page
It
was
was a
going
buzz
off.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, like tell us about that.
So she was here. What was it? Tuesday she showed up. She was there with the Fugees and Outsiders, Rod Digger, and you know, a bunch of folks. Of course, the issue, which has always been the issue, you know, for a while now with Lauren, you know, was a lot of talk about how late she was. You know, the show was scheduled to start setting off around 7:30, 8 o'clock, and it didn't jump off until 10 o'clock. Around that time, so it was, and that's usually pretty much. That sounds like Lauren. I always hear about 2-3 hours. It's a 2-3 hour wait with Lauren Hill. My daughter, I didn't go personally. My daughter went with her friend. And you know, they're younger. They're 15, so they didn't sweat the time. They were just happy being out, you know, at a concert to see Lauren. But yeah, I saw the same thing. Facebook and Instagram was just going crazy talking about how late she was. There were some people who walked out before she even got on. You know what I mean? Because, you know, they heard about it, but, you know, they thought she was going to, you know, do better. And, you know, she still showed up 2 hours late, 2.5 hours late. So that was the situation. But from what I understand and what I got from my daughter was that the show was great. You know, she came out, she did her thing. Outsiders were there. All the Fugees were there. Rod Digger was there rocking. They did the song Cowboys. It's got all of them on there, which is from the Fugees album. There's a song called Cowboys with Fugees and Outsiders and Rod Digger and all. So, but I heard the show was good for those who stayed and you know was able to enjoy it. But you know, she's holding on to that reputation right now as far as, you know, the 2 hour wait. Unfortunately, but you know, because from what I heard, you know, like I said, the show, things were supposed to set off around 7:30. From what I heard, at 7:30 they were just doing the sound check at 7:30. So, you know, so things were rolling pretty late for that show. That was at the Prudential Center. That was this past Tuesday.
But you know what? You know, one of the big issues with that though, Rhino, is that, you know, it ends up costing a lot of money because they had to pay overtime to all of the workers, right? And you know, when they were expected to, you know, to be out of there at a certain time, I talked to some of the people from Prudential, and they said that obviously, you know, the union workers were happy because they were like, take all the time you want, because after a certain time, you got to pay us overtime.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, that's incredible because you would think that, you know, these folks who got those contracts, particularly somebody like Lauren, who's a superstar, that, you know, she would, and because I don't know if it comes out of their money. I have no way of knowing, but I know that building then has to pay those people overtime. Because remember, you know, even when we're doing things, right? Because Zaid, you remember when we were doing science, that was one of the things that came up. Right. You know, John, where they were saying that, you know, if you stay over a certain time, then, you know, because these workers are in union with the Board of Education, they have to be paid overtime.
Right.
Right. So that's something. And like you said, we all hear that with Lauren. So I would hope, because people were mad complaining, but I would hope that.
Hey man, I know people personally who said they walked out. They said they left. They didn't even stay for the show. They left. Yeah. And you got to think it was on a Tuesday night, so people got to work.
Exactly. You know, that's right. Yeah. I heard it too, and people were taking pictures of the arena of all of the people that left, and it wasn't even that crowded.
Yeah. So it was unfortunate, man. It was unfortunate, you know.
But I heard that when she did come on, she did put on a good show.
Yeah, that's what I heard too. I heard the show was incredible. You know, she's going to show out when she does get up there. You just
So you can't knock Lauren's talent. You can't knock her hit records, right?
Yeah, it's just no timing.
That's it. Because I would love to have gone, but I would not have wanted to wait 2 hours, Jack.
Right.
I'd have been unhappy.
And I've done that before, not for a Lauren Hill show, but for somebody else. I've done that in 2 hours, man. That can get to you physically, because you can't. I mean, especially if you can't really move around. If you're sitting in a seat,
right?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that 2 hours that weighs on your back and everything, man. It's like, you people got to go to the bathroom, got to eat. You know, like I said, it was a Tuesday, so people got to work the next day. So they weren't really trying to hang out like that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it was unfortunate that it went down like that. But I am glad that it was a good show that, you know, the people who did stay, got their, they showed.
And the thing, I was going to say, the thing that's so interesting is that when it came out that she had a show, everybody was like, "Are you sure she's going to show up?"
Yeah.
And there were all these, and I was like, "No,
they know the reputation."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a real concern, because I did see people saying online too. They were saying, "Well, is she going to show up?"
Right.
Because they didn't even know if even though she showed up 2 hours late, there were people speculating whether she was even going to show up.
Show up at all, right?
Yeah,
because there's been concerts in the past where she didn't show up at all.
And I think that's what have been like for me. I'm such a big Lauryn Hill fan. Like, I love Lauryn Hill, right?
Me too.
I'm such a big Lauryn Hill fan.
Me too. Hey, John, don't you remember when that album first came out? Me and you was going crazy.
Yep, absolutely.
Everybody, man.
Absolutely.
The whole I feel like the whole world, the whole planet went crazy.
Yeah.
When that album dropped, man, because it just touched a human part of you. Man. You know what I'm saying? It touched a human string. It plucked a human string, man.
I felt that
people of all types, man, just got caught up in that album.
I felt that must be the feeling that my sister had when Stevie Wonder's Songs in the Key of Life came out, right? Like, it was to me, the album was like, and to me, Stevie Wonder's Songs in the Key of Life is the best album ever made, right?
Yep.
And when Lauryn Hill's album came out, it just made everyone change.
Yeah, man.
It just, everybody, like, it's not like, I don't think you can hear the album and be the same person after listening to it. And I don't even know what that even means right now. I just know that's just like, when we first heard that album, I can't really, it's kind of like, oh my God.
Even down to the interludes where Ross, and I didn't even know that was Ross at that time. I didn't know that was Ross, but when you hear him, when you hear the teacher in the classroom teaching love and talking about love with the students, that really got to me, man. I'm like, you don't hear that.
Yeah.
And again, that's the nod to Stevie Wonder.
I was like, yo, we need that
life
for real.
Because on the Stevie Wonder Songs in the Key of Life, you have Gary Bird functioning as the teacher role, right?
Right.
And so I was like, yo, did she just nod to Stevie? Oh, that's cool. Right? Like, it was just so much on that album that you had to listen to it again and again and again. And I don't know if I really don't know if I've ever had that experience since then. That same thing I had from Lauryn. Like name some albums that had that made you just like, oh my gosh, this is like a spiritual experience. This is some deep stuff. Like Stevie Wonder Songs in the Key of Life, when I first heard it.
Right.
There's Prince's Sign of the Times. I put that in that category. That changed me. Might not have been universal for everybody, but I listened to that from beginning to end sometimes, right? Like that full thing, I think is the best thing he ever did. Sign of the Times, a double album, like beginning to end, amazing. And Lauryn Hill, right? Miseducation.
Yeah, definitely.
Lauryn Hill, right? Like, and but are there other albums that were that transformative, like that, like maybe
there were other albums that were transformative, but not like that one. Like I said, that one struck a human chord.
Right.
That wasn't just some black stuff. That was like human. You know what I'm saying? It was like it just crossed all boards, man. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right, because we talked about Nation of Millions, right? But that's different, right? That was transformative, but that's like coming of age and learning some stuff, right? And consciousness. But Lauryn Hill struck me as like Stevie Wonder in that way of like.
And you know, and you know what's interesting is that might be, John, why she was never able to reduplicate that or reproduce that, right?
Yeah, that's the only album she has. That's the only real official album she has. She has an unplugged album that she put out with MTV, but other than that, that's the only official project that she put out.
Yeah, I don't.
I heard Sony.
She's touring off of that right now. You know,
I heard Sony messed up her like Sony held their hostage. Is that true?
I mean, there was so much stuff that went down with Lauryn Hill with that first album, from all of the producers and musicians that were involved to the labels that were involved. She went through so much, And I feel like that's why she doesn't have another album right now, because the politics of the business just turned her off. You know what I'm saying? And you know, where Lauren is, like the level where she is right now, as far as her consciousness and her awareness and what's going on, she's not trying to mess with these slave owners, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause that's what they are, man. These labels, man. And she's not trying to deal with these folks. And you got a lot of bloodsuckers and leeches that's just trying to, you know, get theirs and shine off of her name and stuff like that. So, you know, because you know, there are some people who were hired for the work, to do the work, but you know, I guess some of them didn't get the credit that they expected.
Yeah, I heard that.
So there's a lot of different things, man. It's a lot of different things. So,
and remember that tax issue that she had.
And then she went through that.
Yeah.
And then she went through that, and yeah, that was heavy. You know what I mean? That was heavy on her. So, and honestly, that's where the rumors of her not showing up at certain shows started happening. You know?
Okay.
Yeah. But real quick, another thing I want to hit on. Now that was Tuesday. Now last Saturday, I was downtown at a place called Newark Local Beer on Broad Street, 538 Broad Street. I was DJing for an event called Hip Hop Against Hunger with a friend of mine, Knowledge Infinite, who helped organize that whole situation. It's a nonprofit organization, and it's connected with La Casa, who they help fund your living situation. You know what I'm saying, your bills and stuff like that. They help you with your with a bunch of different things, but it's they also deal with helping feed people who are in need. But this event went on. When I got there, it's funny because I saw the promo that they created for it, and there was another DJ, DJ Salinas. Big ups to DJ Salinas because she rocked when I was there. She had a controller and she was rocking, man, and I didn't expect her to pull out the joints that she was pulling out. She was rocking, and I brought vinyl because since my Serato was acting funny, I said, and plus with the time that I had, I said I'll just bring vinyl. So I brought one crate of vinyl, and when I saw Salinas rocking, I was like, all right, let me. I'm not sure if I can, stand up next to that, man. But it all worked out. But when I got there was a DJ on, DJ Lady C, and I saw her in the promo. And I was like, she looks familiar. And then when I got Lady C, I happened to be Cookie Rivera. And I was like, oh, I know you. And
so DJ her behind off. And she's radical as hell.
Yeah, so she was in the middle of her set when I got there.
This is a Latino Action Network, and she can DJ her behind off.
Yeah, she was on the set when I got there. She was doing the thing, man. We had a good time that whole night, man. It was good. Big ups to Knowledge Infinite, big ups to Jay Wonder, who I was telling y'all last week that he's one of the young brothers from out here doing music, man, and he's incredible, man. I just like his flow, his whole swag is real dope. My man, Lau, Baba Zaire, Lau. Yeah, he rocked in all his selections. Everything he did that night was dope.
Good.
Yeah. It was a real nice event, man. It was a real nice event. It was Hip Hop Against Hunger. I didn't even know we had a brewery downtown in that area. It's like on the same block as IDT, I think. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was last week Saturday. But I originally wanted to try to get her on the show so we can talk about the whole event together. But I was so busy, so I wasn't able to organize that. So maybe we can get her on next week or something.
Absolutely.
She's been on before, but she hadn't been on for a DJ.
Yeah,
right. She's been on plenty of times.
True. Yeah,
true.
But she's never been on really
DJing.
Right.
Yeah, talking about DJing and stuff. Yeah, right. We had a good time.
Right. Yeah.
Nah, so we had.
Too bad we ain't in the studio right now because it would be nice.
Rock it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, pulling some selections. That would be dope.
Exactly.
Dope.
Yeah.
So that's it, man. Last but not least, got to say happy born to this brother right here, Snoop Dogg. It's his born day today.
How old is Snoop Dogg today?
Big ups to the dog, one of the kings of the West.
How old is he today? Rhino is.
Oh man, how old is Snoop, man? You know what? I gotta actually research that, man.
Got to be in his.
But I know he's not far from my age. I'm 53, and so Snoop's got to be somewhere like 50 or 49 or something, somewhere around there.
Your boy is a kid.
I mean, yeah, because if Nas 54, he got to be around the same age, right?
Nas is 54?
Nah, Nas ain't 54.
Oh,
I'm 53. Nas is younger than us.
Oh.
Well, Bashir said he was around the same age as he was.
No, but
Nas is not.
There's some question about Nas might have the same African ancestry.
Snoop is 52. Snoop is 52, so he's a year younger than me.
Okay.
Snoop is 52.
So Nas got to be around there too, then, right?
Nas got to be somewhere around there.
He's exactly 50
years old. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Everybody must be in their 50s, man. You know?
Yeah, he was born in 1973.
Who, Nas?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
73 was a good
yeah, so he's 50.
Ooh, music is
73.
73. Oh my God, that was some good.
Yep. Well, as DJ Rhino, I think we're good for this week.
Yeah, that's it.
Now, where are you playing tomorrow?
Tomorrow I am back. I almost forgot. I'm back. 3 p.m. Twitch.tv/Rhino CMZ for the shake up. I don't know what I'm playing yet, but I'm gonna be having some fun and throwing on some music for y'all tomorrow afternoon. So check me out at 3 p.m. Twitch.tv/Rhino CMZ for the shake up.
All right.
Great. Right on.
All right, thanks a lot, man. Any other announcements before we?
Yes, Sunday is the 28th annual National Day of Action Against Police Brutality. Jersey has 2 cities coming in. Newark at the 51 Rector Street at the FOP headquarters. People's Organization for Progress is leading that. And in Jersey City at 3 p.m. at the Martin Luther King Boulevard at their public safety building, turning it up against police brutality. Justice for Andrew Washington, justice for Najee Seabrooks, justice for Bernard Plessy Jr. and all victims of police brutality.
All right, man. All right, Ed, anything else?
No, I'm good. We just want to thank all of our guests for coming on. We thank the mayor, obviously, for coming on during the mayor's forum, you know, dropping some wisdom as usual. So we appreciate that. And then, of course, them beautiful ladies, man.
Yes, big super shout out to Lisa Durden. Thank you for making that happen. Thank you to Tracey Baker-Simmons. Thank you to Naturi Naughton. Thank you to all of them coming out because the show was great, right? And it was fun. It was fun to have on. So thank you for that, and also thank you.
I think we should take Tracey up on her offer to definitely
absolutely
some of the other folks that she represents.
100%, right? Mm-hmm. And also big shout out and thank you to Atiya Bell. Much appreciated because that insurance conversation is an important conversation, and glad we had you on. Right. So
always helping people with in these streets. It's a big problem.
Right. Yeah. Right. So until next week, we're gonna have a good show next week too. So until next week, be careful, be safe.
And you don't stop.
Peace.